Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew-Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew-Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew-Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew-Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew-Built Conicals. You can trust Brew-Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew-Built at morebeer.com.
Today's Sunday session is proudly brought to you by More Beer at www.morebeer.com.
I poured it in my mouth and it just wasn't going down.
My first beer was an IPA, the best IPA I've ever drank. Mostly because I brewed it.
If you have a scale that is good for measuring cocaine, you're probably good for measuring hops on cocaine.
You're scaring me.
I think the information is awesome and the audio sucks.
Make some sugary water, throw some yeast in there,
And you're going to drink good beer.
yeah, it's going to be good. It's fine.
God damn it, man. Oh, my God.
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the program, and thanks for being with us. It's another session. It's a Tuesday session. Keep moving deeper into the week.
What the hell's that about?
Soon we'll be back on a Sunday. You know, I had a wedding to go to in Nashville, Tennessee.
Ooh, out of town.
This time around. Which, Nashville was awesome, by the way. I'll maybe tell you a little more about it later, but the beer scene there was fantastic. I'll give it that right now. Literally 99% of the beers I had and the places I went were very, very good.
Wow.
Fantastic, even.
Were they local?
Local. I stuck to local beer and just had a great time. And so I'll tell you a little more about that if we have time later on in the show, because I really did enjoy myself. But the reason we have a Tuesday show is I didn't want to make this our off week, and I'll tell you why. Our guest tonight could not. He was kind of hard to book. He's a busy man. He's a New York Times best-selling author. He wrote The Art of Fermentation, among other things, but we're here to talk to him about the art of fermentation. And I didn't want to cancel the show. I didn't want to move it around because I had a wedding to go to, so we stuck to it. We're here on a Tuesday, and happy to be talking to Mr. Sandor Katz. We're going to be doing just about 10 minutes, actually, right here at the beginning of the program.
Awesome. I tell you, there was a lot of heat on Facebook. People were stoked about this one.
The guy...
They're really excited.
He's really a fermentation guru, and I didn't know this until I got into the book. And I went so far as to not even do the audio book this time around.
Whoa.
Yeah. And
that's respect for the guest right there.
It must not have come in an audio book.
Yeah, there was none available. I'm telling you, I'm very impressed by the knowledge that Sandor has about fermentation, the experience he has. It's a very experiential knowledge. He spent a lot of time conducting fermentation, not just on alcohol, by the way, but just within food in general. And the book is about how fermentation plays a role in our lives and has played a role in our history. And I could not be more excited than to have this guest on the program tonight.
Well, I'm certainly a fan of fermentation. Wow, it's great.
I'm going to pass the book around to you guys after the program because it's like $50.
Oh wow!
but it's worth every penny. But I don't want you guys and your underpaid selves to have to go.
Oh wow, that's a big book, dude.
But
that's our Christmas bonus. We've touched the book.
You guys are gonna like this book. I mean, you guys take it home for weeks at a time and enjoy. That. I'm not done with it quite yet, but it's an amazing book. And
it's a big book. He'll be done next year.
Can we get Moscow to put it on audio?
Yes.
I'd like to hear your voice.
You want Moscow to read it?
You really want to hear me in your head dictating a whole book?
We'll tweak the frequency.
Can you make it exciting?
We'll tweak it a little bit. We won't know what you're...
When do I ever speak and it's not exciting?
There you go.
So we're going to be talking to Sandor in just a few minutes, and that's why we're here on a Tuesday night. Thanks for joining us. As always, you can hit the chat button on the homepage, and Bevo is in there, ready to take your questions. If you've got questions for Sandor or anything else during the program, just hit the chat button. You could also call us up, 888-401-BEER. That's 888-401-BEER, and we'll take your calls that way. So in light of us having kind of a lot to do and our interview coming up here really early in the program, let me get right to some announcements. By the way, we're also going to be doing a Brewcaster Challenge update.
Yes.
That's right. Doc and John Plisse have both brewed their Roggen beers. By the way, we've been pronouncing it wrong on the show for weeks.
That's weird.
But yeah.
Don't you mean we've been pronouncing it wrong?
Yes.
Really?
Roggen beer. And we'll be talking about that here on the program tonight. We'll be betting, placing our bets on which brewcaster might win this time's challenge.
Are we going to get a little John Plisse love in the studio tonight?
I don't know. I'm waiting to hear back if he's doing a phoner or coming on in. So I have a feeling it's going to be a phoner. So we'll see. But he is committed to being in the studio on tasting day, of course. So we'll have John there. We're also we've got a local musical guest on the program later on tonight. Lucas, Ohio. Patty is our musical guest. He's a local guy and been playing music around the Bay Area for years now. He's got a new album out, so we're going to hear from him toward the end of the program. So a lot to do tonight. Let me get to your announcements for you. The American Homebrewers Association has put out a survey of homebrewers and home winemakers. And the point of the survey, and I believe they do this every year, is to gather as much information about our community and the homebrew industry as possible in order to better serve you as your American Homebrewers Association. I believe we've put the link to that survey on both our Facebook and Twitter pages, so you can find it over there. I'll read it to you, but if you're driving or whatever, it's one of those long ones. But it's research.net/s/AHA_affiliated. Yeah.
Spell affiliated for us.
We're like the only industry left on Earth that can't figure out how to do short URLs. And by the way, the Brewing Network is no exception from that rule.
New.livestream.
I was just going to say, that is so long, I wouldn't even try. It's so annoying.
Yeah. So we've made it easy. We've just put it up on our Facebook page. You can link to it there. You could also link to our how to watch the show live in the studio over on our Facebook page. There's a link there.
Even on Tuesday?
For that as well. Even on a Tuesday, we're going live.
Yeah, these things work on Tuesdays.
Yeah.
I don't.
All right, our good friends at the Creek Monkey Tap House, which is just around the corner from the BN studio here, just letting you know that on 8/13, they're having a 21st Amendment pint night. So our good friends Creek Monkey joining forces with our good friends over at the 21A for a 21A pint night at Creek Monkey. That's on August 13th. It's a Tuesday night. Come on out and check it out. They'll have a bunch of 21A on tap, and you can't go wrong with that. Dr. Homebrew, our brand new show, hosted by your own Jason Petros.
That's me.
Is available in iTunes and on the homepage. If you go to thebrewingnetwork.com/on-tap, you will find a list of all the Dr. Homebrew shows. That's its temporary home, but at least it gets it up on the homepage so you can see descriptions, download it, send it to your friends, do anything you want to do until our website is finished being built, and then it'll have its own permanent page. But right now, it's right there on the homepage, right next to all the other shows, as well as in iTunes. Just search Dr. Homebrew or use the XML feed, thebrewingnetwork.com/drhomebrew.xml. You can shop on Amazon and help out the Brewing Network. Just click the Amazon link on our homepage. Shop as you normally do. You won't even know that we're there, watching you, everything you do, taking a piece of your money. It's a great way to support us.
We are doing it.
We don't actually get to watch you. I did hear from several listeners at the National Homebrewers Conference, though, Moscow, that they are quite disappointed. We are no longer doing the Amazon item of the week.
Oh, yeah.
They found it to be a fantastic segment, and I was reminded that I kind of liked it, too. So please bring back the Amazon item of the week next week, would you?
Okay, yeah, I'll have a new one.
Okay.
It's all because of you freaks and the weird stuff you order. That's the segment.
That's what makes it interesting.
That's why they like it, because they're like, we are freaks, and we want to know.
I wonder if it has actually spurred somebody to buy something they wouldn't have otherwise,
Right.
just in hopes of making the segment. It's a stretch, but you never know.
Hey, well, I'll take it either way. So please bring back the What Are the Freaks shopping for this week. Next week. All right. There's iPhone and Android apps available in your favorite store, iTunes or the Marketplace. Just search BN Mobile. It's free. The other one shouldn't be there anymore. If there's anything charging you money for the Brewing Network app, that's not us, so don't do that. Just search BN Mobile. It's a free app. You can listen on the go. And as I said, you can watch all this over on our live stream page. Go to live stream and search Brewing Network, or click the link on our Facebook page. I'll get that up on the homepage too. We're still testing the service actually, and it's going to be. We're supposed to be getting you some higher definition video here soon, but we're in beta right now.
Yeah, we are.
Once that's all done, we'll put a link right on the homepage, and you can click on it all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
Every day.
All day.
Air
Every
day. Air day. All right, subscribe and join the BN Army just by clicking the donate button. You can do, you can donate one time, or you can donate monthly. If you're a monthly donor, you're entered into the More Beer donation giveaway, and we appreciate that very much. It helps us out, and you get first dibs on tickets and new merchandise and all sorts of goodies that JP sends out every month to the BN Army recurring donors. Get all this and more over on Twitter and Facebook. Send your show ideas over to Scott the Jew. That's Scott at thebrewingnetwork.com. And send feedback to feedback at thebrewingnetwork.com. We'll be doing feedback at the end of the program today because we've got to get to our interview here pretty quickly. But do we have a Twitter game?
We do have a Twitter game.
All right, your Twitter game is brought to you tonight by our good friends over at Moonlight Meadery. Boy, do we love Moonlight Meadery and Michael Fairbrother. He's a good dude, and his team is making fantastic meads all over the country. If it's not yet in your area, ask for it, and he'll get it there. Moonlight Meadery.
So I was thinking the other day about all the things that Scott paints. He loves the seascapes, and he loves, the Giants players and whatever. But
does he love seascapes?
He does love seascapes. There's a lot of seascapes in his repertoire.
Okay,
I feel.
All right.
So I wondered if he ever branched out, and maybe he would look internally into the BN for some sort of inspiration. I thought if Moscow ever painted Tasty nude,
yes.
Sorry, Tasty.
Now on velvet.
Oh,
now this is not just some cheap, shoddy nonsense. This is a velvet painting.
JP, that went without saying,
right?
Once you said Tasty nude, we all knew it would be on velvet.
Well, that's what I thought, right?
Yeah.
What would you trade for it? Now this is a no money situation. There's
everything
no money.
I own.
But what would you trade?
It's a barter.
I will trade JP.
Whoa!
I'll trade everything I own.
That's rude.
Except the bus, because you want to put it in the bus.
Well, yeah.
Now
on the ceiling.
No, yeah, it'd be the new,
be like
the new pop top.
Can I be in a recline position? Like,
yeah.
With my head on my hand. Like,
of course.
Will he be laying on some sort of fur rug?
Like the,
That's up to Scott. That's artist interpretation, man.
Can this be the first Twitter game that we actually turn into a reality? And are you able to
Dear God, I hope not.
Are you able to do a velvet painting, Moscow?
Is the BN in the mood to commission?
commission.
Well, somebody will get. Can we add money to the? You said no money, but if we can make it a reality. Maybe people would bid on it.
Yeah, maybe. In my,
wait a minute.
In my post-apocalyptic utopian world,
one thing you're forgetting about here.
Money's gone.
I see.
Make sure you get a model release signed by Tasty.
Yeah. Will you take any money?
You still do have to pose for it, Tasty. Yeah.
What if I can wear a sock?
That's fine.
And then I get some artistic license over the length of the dong and all that.
Like an ankle sock or something.
Yeah.
Well, what makes you think I can't do it from memory?
Right.
Because it's going to be burned in.
We're supposed to talk about that.
It will be burned in your mind.
Will be.
Yeah.
It's burned into my mind.
I like this
once
one,
you see
JP.
it.
All right, good. Well, thanks.
All right, so what would you trade for the velvet portrait of Tasty?
Hopefully it's U.S. currency, and we'll make it a reality.
There is no U.S. currency.
Oh.
This is like Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome nonsense, dude. This is you trade like a liter of gas and a full can of beer or something like that.
Still,
and you use blonde.
This is only part two. Could still, if it's as popular as I think it's going to be, we can bring it back for a currency exchange too.
We can.
Not opposed.
Yes. I mean, whatever anyone wants to trade. You guys can do money if you want, I suppose. But
I don't think you're going to be able to get people to not spend money on it.
Money's not funny though. I want like someone's third and first child.
Well, yeah,
that's fine for tonight, but I can't wait to see the homebrewer who wants this hanging in his basement bar or his brewery. He wants a nude of Tasty in his favorite recliner.
It might be like a night with a wife. You never know. Like you don't know. So.
Anything.
Maybe we should just make prints of the original and just sell it at our booth at every festival.
It can be signed.
What kind of recliner do you think Tasty has? Is he a lazy boy guy?
No, Chase Lounge. No, Chase Lounge all the way.
Chase, yeah.
Like French, Victorian style.
Right.
Oh, you mean the one arm kind of thing?
Yeah.
I like Tasty kind of keeps doing it a little bit. He's kind of showing us here, and it's making me.
I can see it, and then I go like, no, that's not going to happen.
Right. No. I mean, you can cross your legs over so that you don't have to.
I don't have to
wear
show the goods.
Yeah,
Okay.
Oh no, you can wear underpants.
Oh no, it'll be tasteful.
Oh, I can be in a
What are we? Vulgar here?
Tasteful nudes.
A tasteful big fat Tasty.
I just got Peter Griffin pictured in my mind.
It's more like that. Yeah,
I'll do the belly hanging over.
I'll cover it all over. I'll cover it up with the belly. Yeah.
He's like a hairy Peter Griffin. All right,
guys, it's getting mean.
That's a great visual.
All right, so a lot of things to do tonight, as you can see.
And wash your brain if you can.
Can we change the subject and wash our brains away?
Yes.
Like an Etch-a-Sketch, just shake it.
Shake them dreads.
All right. Try to get our guest on the line here because I'm very excited to get to this interview. We've got a lot to cover with Mr. Katz and a lot else to do today as well. So at this moment, we should have Sandor Katz. He's a New York Times bestselling author of The Art of Fermentation on the line. Sandor, are you with us?
I am with you.
Hey, thanks so much for joining the program today. I appreciate it.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. Now, Sandor, just a little background into why we wanted you on the program here. Of course, we're called the Brewing Network, and we're a show about beer week in and week out. So fermentation is near and dear to our hearts. And, I read an article about your book when it first came out quite some time ago, and I had our producer contact you to get you on the show. And since then, I've spent some time with your book, and I've become a huge fan. So I wanted you on the show just because of the idea, but I'm telling you that since then, I've just become a big fan of your work, and I'm excited to be able to talk to you about it today. So thank you.
Well, it's nice to hear that. Thank you.
Now, this is not your first book about fermentation, is it?
No. In 2003, my first book about fermentation was published, and that was called Wild Fermentation.
Got it. And how long have you been, if I could call you this, a fermentation junkie?
Well, let's see. I would say 1993 is the year that I moved from New York to Tennessee and started keeping a garden and made my first batch of sauerkraut and, began to get obsessed with fermentation. And I have been experimenting with fermentation ever since then. So I had been at it, I guess, for 10 years when Wild Fermentation came out. And then, that would be about 20 years by now.
Okay. So you've been experimenting with this stuff for a long time, and something I wanted to point out and try to get a little bit of your background while we're at it is, to me, the book is a very it's a practical guide to fermentation techniques, while also really an enormous amount of information and historical information. Do you also have? Are you a biologist? Are you a doctor? Do you have a scientific background?
Not at all, really. I mean, I have a college degree. I was a liberal arts student. I majored in history. The last time I took a biology class was actually 9th grade. But through my interest in fermentation, I've definitely been educating myself and reading a lot.
Perfect. This is perfect for me, and I have a lot of co-hosts in the room that you're going to hear their voices as well. But Doc, do you see already why I'm such a fan? Because he's a liberal arts major but he dove into the science of fermentation by just doing it, and look how successful he's become.
Well, the big success here is that you're actually reading a book about something scientific.
He's got me reading things.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a plus right there.
Well, I just wanted to get that out there, Sandor, mostly because the book in its practical information, but as well as the historical information that you've given, it's so well researched that it's easy for dummies like me to read, I think is what I'm getting at.
Well, thank you. I think that this stuff is incredibly interesting from many different perspectives. And, if you want to geek out on the science of it, that's interesting. I think the, stories of, how fermentation was practiced in different cultures is fascinating.
Yeah.
And also, I'm very interested in the, sort of socioeconomic role of, food and drink in our lives. And so, I've tried to look at it from all these different perspectives.
In terms of the socioeconomic factors involved, you seem to be very much a proponent of, for one, growing your own food if you can, obviously fermenting your own foods, and kind of the local movement in general.
Sure. No, I think that I think for many, many reasons, it's, critically important that we reclaim our food. And I think that the model that we were working off of in the United States in the period when I was growing up was that, we're all lucky that we don't have to have anything to do with food production, and that it happens in faraway places that we're not thinking about. And then the food just, finds its way to the supermarket. And I think in recent years, people are starting to wake up to the fact that, sort of a food system where, everyone or almost everyone is utterly disconnected from where their food comes from. That there are consequences to that in terms of the sort of quality and nutritional value of the food that we're eating, in terms of the, energy that gets embedded into it, in terms of, our resilience and, readiness to sort of feed ourselves, if there were to be some disruption of our transportation systems, and ultimately, I think at a spiritual level, where I think the utter disconnection from the source of our food, has just left many people searching. So I think much broader than fermentation, many people have embraced the project of becoming closer to the sources of their food, breaking out of the role of consumer, and starting to sort of think of themselves in some regard as food producers, supporting local food producers. And I think we just have a sort of a whole new consciousness around this. But we can't, obviously the food that people eat isn't just the raw products of agriculture. It's all of the things that you can turn the raw products of agriculture into. So that's where the fermentation arts come in, because, they're really the classic, value-added products for agriculture, to, turn perishable agricultural products into more stable products that can be, exchanged and transported and such.
So this is one of the most interesting parts of the book, and what I've read of it so far is fermentation as a preservative. Now, I'll just quickly let you know that I grew up in the desert of Southern California, and I ate fast food 3 meals a day. And I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, we ate this horrible. We were very detached from it, just as you described. And I think home brewing had a lot to do with changing my opinion about producing something myself and drinking something that that I really made, and of course how fermentation plays a role in that. But when you talk about fermentation throughout history, and part of it being as a preservative of food, you're not only are you passionate about it, but so it makes it easy to read, but it's kind of eye-opening the place that fermentation has taken in our culture in terms of making food available, for example, in the winter months when it was abundant in the summer, but you needed a way to store it.
Yeah, exactly. Beer is not one that we could really describe as a ferment that preserves food, because obviously just dried barley preserves for a good long time. But many ferments primarily have been valued for their ability to preserve food. Think about milk. We can't even from our perspective in the historical bubble of refrigeration, we can't even imagine what milk would be if we didn't have a refrigerator.
Right.
Like the whole distribution distribution system is refrigerated. I mean, fresh milk really is only possible beginning in the 20th century in, highly industrialized parts of the world where refrigeration became widespread. I mean, the milk that most people have drunk throughout history is soured milk because that's what happens to milk if it's not in a refrigerator. And so, yogurt is an example of a soured milk. Kefir is a different example of a soured milk. And really, every place on the earth where people domesticated animals for their milk, they developed distinctive styles of soured milk. Then if you start to remove some of the liquid from that, you start getting cheeses and hard cheeses. And, hard cheeses like cheddar and Parmesan cheese, I mean, we're used to putting them in the refrigerator because we have them. But, the milk is very stable even without refrigeration for months and months. So, when I meet people living on the fringes of American society without refrigeration, things like hard cheeses and salamis and vinegar-based condiments all become even more important because they are foods which just have a stability without being in a fermentation slowing device.
Absolutely. Guys, anybody ever heard of a cheese box?
Cheese box.
Just a box you put cheese in. It's not refrigerated or anything.
Like a bread box?
It's like a box, but you put cheese in it.
Keeps the flies off.
I was just in New York City after the Homebrewers Conference, and we did a tour of the Tenement Museum. And it would have been how people lived kind of just around the turn of the century, kind of just up to the Industrial Revolution. And some people had refrigeration, but most people didn't. And cheese would live in a box, in a warm box. And in fact, in New York City in the summer, it was probably a hot box. But through some of the fermentation activity that Sandor describes in his book and the things that you can learn about, it was edible. It wouldn't kill you. The things that were growing in it aren't bacteria. And you guys can imagine in this room, knowing that I'm Sandor, I'm a germaphobe, and reading your book, in some ways, is already helping me with that because he's talking about bacteria in a way that makes it sound healthy to me. And it's
well, bacteria are healthy. I mean,
right.
Look at our own bodies. I mean, biologists who have been counting the cells of our bodies came to the conclusion 10 years ago that the cells that we each possess that have our unique individual DNA code are outnumbered in our bodies 10 to 1 by bacteria that we are host to.
Right.
And, despite our conditioning to imagine that those are all trying to kill us, in fact, those bacteria give us a huge amount of our functionality. Human beings could not effectively reproduce without bacteria that are part of women's bodies. We couldn't effectively digest food or assimilate nutrients. Bacteria in our intestines actually synthesize certain essential nutrients on our behalf, so we don't have to find them in our food. They regulate what we would describe as our immune system. And a really interesting new finding is that they have some role in regulating the production and release of serotonin and other brain chemicals. So it's just so many different aspects of our functioning come from bacteria. And here's the thing. I mean, the emerging consensus in evolutionary biology is that all life is descended from bacteria. And the corollary to that, which doesn't get talked about quite as much, is that no other form of life has ever lived without bacteria. So, just as human beings are dependent upon bacteria in order to sort of uptake nutrients from the food that we eat, plants are similarly dependent on bacteria in order to uptake nutrients from the soil. We live in a bacterial world, and basically bacteria is the context for all life. And, without denying that there do exist bacteria that can make us sick, we also have to recognize that, the bacteria that are part of us, are the single greatest factor in protecting us from getting sick. So, all of these sort of, chemical warfare against bacteria that we're exposed to every day is actually making us more vulnerable to bacterial illness rather than less vulnerable to bacterial illness.
See, guys, I'm cured.
Are you?
Yeah.
Well, now you can embrace the term.
Then you should throw away your hand sanitizer and all your antibacterial soap because it's actually worse for you than not.
Well, and those things are talked about a little bit in the book, too. But to relate it to beer a little bit, and we've talked about this anyway. Now, Sandor, we're big proponents of doing yeast starters for beer for our home brewers and making the environment as conducive as possible to the yeast that we introduce to the beer, as opposed to other bacteria and or any other yeast as well, even the wild yeast sometimes. And so one of the things we've always talked about is if you create an environment that is happiest for the brewer's yeast, it will outcompete any of the other stuff that's in there, because you were never going to create a sterile wort, for example. Well, in your descriptions of just bacteria in the body, it's even a broader example of the competition going on, and that the good bacteria, the useful bacteria, the stuff that we've evolved with, constantly outcompetes the myriad bacteria that could make us sick. So
yeah, absolutely. And I totally, I hear what you're saying about encouraging, home brewers to, create conditions that are hospitable to the yeast that they're working with. One thing that I like to point out to people is that, people have been making beer for something like 10,000 years. And yeast, as a distinct thing in a package, has existed for barely 100 years.
Right.
And so, yeast is found frequently in the natural world. It's just never found in isolation. It always exists with lactic acid bacteria and other kinds of bacteria. And so, all of the brewing until, Louis Pasteur first, isolated yeast was done using these mixed communities of yeasts along with bacteria.
And I know there's a segment in your book about wild beers, for example, and wild fermented beers, and we're a huge fan of beers like that. I know you had a chance to visit Cantillon and things like that. So there's still a place for that kind of wild fermentation. But you're absolutely right. With the clean brewer's yeast, it's so recent. Let me ask you this, and maybe it's a silly question, but Louis Pasteur, is he a hero or a villain? Because in some ways it sounds like the natural fermentation that you are a proponent of in this book kind of exists mostly without pasteurization.
I would say that, to me, Louis Pasteur as a historical figure is a hero. If only because he, is the first one who, definitively, described what fermentation is as a biological process and started, identifying some of the, distinctive microorganisms involved in different ferments, and I think that is. I think that is a huge bit of information and sort of has helped lead to greater investigation of microorganisms.
Sure.
But I also feel that because the earliest triumphs of the field of microbiology that he spawned involved identifying vectors of infectious disease, bacteria that were, associated with different diseases, that, in the popular imagination and really in the minds of, most scientific researchers, bacteria just became associated with disease, period. And I think that the story is much more nuanced than that. And I think, we have to recognize that, bacteria are our ancestors and our essential, partners in life. And in the realm of fermentation, I don't think that there's anything wrong with working with, pure strain cultures. But I do think that, in certain ferments, something has been lost. Like let's talk for a moment about yogurt. And, yogurt is another fermented food that goes back for thousands of years. And it's, milk fermented with a community of organisms. Generally, the way yogurt is made is you take a little scoop of your old batch of yogurt and introduce that into your next batch of yogurt. In the technical literature, that's called backslopping, when you add a little bit of your old batch into your new batch. And, obviously for yogurt or any other food that's based on sort of culturing with itself, to have been passed down through the generations, it needs to be able to sort of, carry on for multiple generations. And that's been the story of yogurt. But, when microbiologists sought to better understand yogurt and started looking at some of the yogurt communities, well, the bias of microbiology largely has been, any bacteria that is not specifically utilitarian for some reason is extraneous and we should get rid of it. So, early in the 20th century, microbiologists identified out of Bulgarian yogurt 2 strains of bacteria, Lactobacillus bulgaricus and Streptococcus thermophilus. And so, basically for the U.S. government, for international trade, those 2 bacteria define yogurt, and almost all commercial yogurt is made from those 2 and maybe a third and a fourth strain of bacteria that have been sort of isolated out of yogurt. And then sort of, it's not a pure starter culture because there's 2 different bacteria involved, but it's just those 2 rather than in evolved community, and it makes fine yogurt. But the yogurt, from that yogurt, you can only make 1 or 2 generations of yogurt, and then it disappears and stops being yogurt. So basically, you have to go buy another starter every couple of generations. So I think that the net result, might be greater predictability in some way if you use the pure culture starter. But it doesn't have the ability to perpetuate itself. So it has sort of bred a sort of dependence on microbiologists to create these cultures for us. And, I think certainly it's much more straightforward to make beer, with some of these yeast strains that have been isolated. But it has made, brewers, much more dependent on microbiologists for better or for worse. Sure. And I think that, one of the very appealing things for me about most fermentation processes is that, they have just been done low tech in homes and communities, and so the sort of traditional mixed cultures that people can perpetuate themselves, or the techniques that people used in order to perpetuate their cultures, are just very interesting and appealing to me.
And for me, this is kind of what's at the heart of what's so, I think, intriguing about your book, is that you really encourage us to experiment. And when it comes to food, I think I'm a fearful person, that I have been indoctrinated in some of the things that you've spoken about already, that I have to worry about different things growing in my food and bacteria. But really, with very few exceptions, you're really encouraging us to go out there and experiment and let some of these things happen naturally instead and see what we find. And that really it's not as harmful as I think it is in almost every case. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, although I would certainly say that I like to encourage people to understand clearly what the parameters for safety are. For instance, like I can tell you that in the realm of fermenting vegetables, there is no concern about safety. According to the USDA, the number of documented cases of food poisoning from fermented vegetables since the beginning of record keeping is 0.
Wow.
So that would suggest that fermented vegetables actually are safer than raw vegetables, because we hear every year about people getting sick from spinach, lettuce, tomatoes. It's kind of one thing after another, because there always is the possibility of incidental contamination. But even if you had vegetables that had been contaminated and turned them into sauerkraut, chopped them up, salted them, squeezed them, or pounded them a little bit, stuffed them into a vessel or a crock so that they are submerged under their own juices, well, the indigenous population of lactic acid bacteria would easily dominate over any kind of contaminant, and as they acidified the environment, the contaminating bacteria would be destroyed, because none of the organisms associated with food poisoning can survive in an acidic environment. Now, if we're talking about fermenting salami, well, there are not 0 cases of food poisoning from fermented sausages. There's sort of some clearer parameters for safety that you have to be familiar with in order to do it. So, I don't mean to be suggesting that, I certainly don't mean to be suggesting random uninformed experimentation. I mean, I think it's really important to be, have some information about, what are the potential risks and what do you need to do to avoid them.
Sandor, if it's not in your book, I won't have any further information. So whatever's there, that's it. That's all I'm doing. And
okay,
I've read that
there's
somewhere.
Plenty in there for you to chew on.
There is, actually. And you know what's unfortunate for me, because I'm so lazy, is that the one I'm most interested in is actually fermenting meat and salami and charcuterie. And that is the one that Sandor does, as he just described, but he describes in further detail. At least requires a modicum of background and what to do and not to do. And he does cover quite a bit of that in here, but it's still the one that frightens me. I haven't gotten rid of my germophobia quite so much that I can dive right into that.
Well, actually, I have some homemade salami if you want to try it.
No,
I
you
brought
don't.
them. Yes, I do.
Do you really?
No, I really don't.
Okay.
No.
We do have some sauerkraut to try, though, don't we, Moscow?
Yes, a listener named Micah sent in 5 different varieties that he made using Sandor's techniques. So we'll eat some with some sausage at the break.
So let's do this. I need to get us to a break, but I wanted to talk about a little bit of history before we do that, if I could. And I just have a couple of things from the book that I wanted to read, because they're discussions that I think beer people have had for years, and I like the interesting take that you've described in your book here. So what I wanted to bring up first, this is early on in the book about fermentation and culture. And the first part of the book is just fascinating in talking about fermentation in our lives as a species. And kind of the double meaning of the word culture, that we're not just talking about cultures of yeast or bacteria, but we're actually talking about human culture. And one quote here from anthropologist Patrick McGovern is in here, and he says, our species' intimate relationship with fermented beverages over millions of years has in large measure made us who we are today. And here's my favorite part. Most people seem to enjoy manipulating our gift and burden of consciousness, and do so by whatever means available. Alcohol has been by far and away the most widely available and widely used intoxicant to actually, end of quote, to actually manipulate our perception of this consciousness. And for one, I thought that was just pretty insightful about alcohol's relationship with humans. But later on in the same page, there's something that's even more interesting to me. And I'll preface it by saying this, and we've all heard this discussion, not only on this show, but around your homebrew friends and things like that. Where did alcohol come from? Where did it first happen? And there's a lot of theories, right? It's been found in pottery, and nobody really knows where it came from. And Sandor it describes that in the book as well. But the theories often revolve around, did somebody figure it out, or did it happen by accident? Well, there's a person quoted in the book who takes a completely different take on it, which I thought was fascinating. And it kind of brings it back to the which came first, the chicken or the egg argument for me. And basically he just poses the question, after understanding that humans' relationship with alcohol goes so far back, and it's so ingrained in our biology, that he poses the question, is it possible that rather than humans discovering alcohol and mastering its production, that we actually evolved always already knowing it? Anthropologist Mikkel John Aswed points out that all vertebrate species are equipped with a hepatic enzyme system with which to metabolize alcohol. All vertebrate beings, he's essentially saying. So instead of asking who did it first and where did it come from, he essentially is asking, we just evolved that way. We always knew it.
Right.
And then Sandor goes on to give examples of mammals, potentially our ancestors, who knew how to find alcohol. They weren't making it. They were finding it in nature and going back to it and consuming it.
Yeah, the classic contemporary example is moose in Canada finding apples that have fallen from trees and fermented on the ground, and you can find drunk mises, whatever they are. Mooses.
And Sandor, you know this better than us because you researched this a bit, but that's, to me, you've gone back even farther with animals that have been found consuming alcohol. And I loved the reversing of the question, who made it first, and instead of just going, it appears we maybe already just knew it. Like we just evolved that way.
Well, and that's how I picture it. I mean, we've all had the experience, say, picking berries, and you pick a berry that was like damaged a little bit and is fermenting and tastes like alcohol. There's so much documentation of different animals being drawn to that it's easy to imagine our primate ancestors, just filling their mouths with, with fermenting berries and, getting to enjoy a little bit of the feelings that come with that. And then it's, I think that it's a huge, cultural achievement at whatever point we sort of, figured out how to juice some berries into a bowl or mix the berries with some water into a bowl or a hollowed out tree. I mean, Claude Lévi-Strauss, who's an anthropologist and cultural theorist of the 20th century, he writes a lot about mead. Fermented honey water. Yep. Being the production of that being the original act of culture. And so, he imagines, a band of, pre-human hominoids, coming across a hive that washed out of a tree, got diluted with water. There's a puddle of honey water in the ground bubbling and some people getting down, tasting it. Oh, that tastes good. Drinking a little bit more. And then, feeling that the nice feelings that come with it. But it happened as a natural phenomenon, and maybe they'll never encounter that again in their lives until someone has the idea, like, okay, what object could I turn into a vessel? And Claude Lévi-Strauss is picturing that as a sort of a rotted out a branch of a tree or something that would hold water. So, and then you climb into the tree and you take down the hive and you mix it with water. So what you're doing is you're taking something that has happened on its own in nature, and you are sort of adding intentionality to it.
Sure.
And you're starting to develop techniques and tools. And, that's the part that's the uniquely human cultural innovation. Like the, being drawn to the smell and the flavor of alcohol, we're not so unique in that regard.
Right. And now all these years later, we have Bud Light. From all of this creative use and discovering how this could be done, we've ended up here.
What direction are we going
with Bud Light? Well, it was a particularly interesting part of the book for me because I just kind of related it to, it's just something I hadn't thought of before, and I kind of related it to, whales that know how to migrate. They don't go to migration school. They're just born with it, and they figure that out. And I had never kind of turned the alcohol question on its head and thought, well, maybe I'm just looking for an excuse of why I like beer so much, but I just never thought of, well, we were just born to love this stuff. You
were just born that way, like Lady Gaga says.
Yes, exactly. All right, well, let me do this. I've got some questions coming in from our chat room. I need to take a quick break. It sounds like we're going to serve us up some listener-made sauerkraut, which is sure to be safe because I've read the book and I know.
I'm still unclear about it.
So here's what we'll do. We'll take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have more from Sandor Katz. If you've got questions, hit the chat button on our homepage or call 888-401-BEER, 888-401-BEER, and we'll take your questions. We'll be right back. Hang in there. It's The Session.
Listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
Since the first time the Brewing Network microphones turned on, More Beer was behind it. More Beer sponsors the programming on the BN because, like you, they love brewing. And like the Brewing Network, they love sharing their knowledge. Morebeer.com isn't just a website to place your next equipment or ingredient order. Morebeer.com also gives you access to free beer information that will make you a better brewer. Go to morebeer.com and click into the Learning Center. You'll find podcasts, technical facts, video tutorials, and more, including access to The Buzz, More Beer's social network of more than 5,000 members. And some of them might even be crazier about beer than you are. Get over to morebeer.com today and take advantage of The Buzz, the forum, the Learning Center, and make sure you're signed up to receive the newest More Beer catalog. More Beer, bringing you absolutely everything for beer making.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Jamel Zanishev, and in addition to my work on the Brewing Network, I write the Style Profile column in every issue of Brew Your Own magazine.
Hi, I'm Sean Paxton, and when I'm not prepping for the Home Brewed Chef on the Brewing Network, you can find me writing articles on how to cook with your home brew for Brew Your Own magazine.
Greetings, cretins. This is John Palmer, and when I'm not writing for Brew Your Own, I'm reading it.
John Palmer, Sean Paxton, Jamil Zanishev. If you love listening to them on the Brewing Network, you'll love reading their articles, tips, and recipes in the pages of Brew Your Own magazine. Join Jamil, John, and Sean 8 times a year in Brew Your Own. And when you subscribe to BYO on the Brewing Network website, half of your subscription price goes right back to the BN to support great beer and food programming. So sign up for Brew Your Own magazine through the BN website today so you can listen and read your way to better homebrew.
Nico, listen, our lawyers said that we had to do this for 1 hour, and after this, we don't have to talk to each other for 3 more months to the next meeting.
Kids, come on, let's get out of here.
I'm supposed to have more lines. I'm the professional. Hey, it's Sully.
And I'm Nico.
And we opened the 21st Amendment 9 years ago at 563 2nd Street in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park, to make great beer and have a great time doing it.
That's right, because to us, the 21st Amendment is more than just the right to make beer. It's the right to experiment, to be innovative, and just do things differently. And so now, we're putting our craft beer in cans.
That's right, cans. You can find our world-famous Hell or High Watermelon Wheat Beer and Brew Free or Die IPA throughout California and Alaska.
And now it's also available on draft at select accounts in the Bay Area.
So next time you're at your local neighborhood pub or good beer store, be sure to ask for 21st Amendment in cans.
Because everyone likes it in the can.
Tasty crack cans.
Tasty crack can.
A vial of White Labs yeast is the key to your best beer. When you open a vial of White Labs yeast, you're giving your beer its best chance for a perfect fermentation. In addition to their already incredible variety of yeasts, White Labs is proud to announce WLP 90, San Diego's super yeast, now available year-round. WLP 90 is super clean, super fast fermenting, with low esters and has a neutral flavor and aroma profile. It's alcohol tolerant and highly flocculent. For more of the latest White Labs news, click over to whitelabs.com, where you can read reviews of yeast, learn in the lab section, and join the customer club. And if you should find yourself in San Diego, White Labs has a brand new training facility for craft brewers and home brewers alike. whitelabs.com. Discover yeast, nutrients, enzymes, and more for commercial breweries, home brewers, and homebrew stores. White Labs. It's all in the vial.
Hi, I'm Jason Harris, the proud owner here at Keystone Homebrew Supply. We're thrilled to be entering our 20th year of supplying this great industry, and to show you, the Brewing Network Army, how much we appreciate your support, we're offering you 10% off your first order on our website, KeystoneHomebrew.com. Just use coupon code BNARMY at checkout, and I'll get your order out the same day. My goal at Keystone Homebrew Supply has always been to have a complete supply of everything a brewer could want. When you place your order online or when you come into our store, it's our goal to have everything on your list and more. One aspect of KeystoneHomebrew.com that we're really excited about is the ability to fulfill customers' exact grain bills. Do you hate to wait? Keystone Homebrew Supply can get your precious yeast and hops to you within just 1 day if you live between Connecticut and Virginia, and within 2 days east of the Mississippi. KeystoneHomebrew.com. Coupon code BNARMY. I'm Jason Harris, and I approve this message.
This is www.thebrewingnetwork.com.
Sit down next to it, grab yourself a paper towel, and watch those yeast have sex.
You're listening to the Brewing Network.
The session.
Brewing up our next batch of radio gold.
Right now.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for sticking with us. We're talking to Sandor Katz. He's the author of The Art of Fermentation, and it's all things fermentation, not just beer and not just wine and not just kombucha and not just sake. It's all about food and just fermentation in our lives. It's a fantastic book. Highly recommend checking it out. Thanks for hanging out with us, Sandor. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So a couple questions coming in from the chat room that I wanted to get over to you. Our producer Scott's getting that listener sauerkraut ready, and we'll see how that goes. I got to say, I know that you're a fan of sauerkraut, and that's one of your biggest experimentation things. I haven't had it in years because I never liked it. But I'm curious now that I've become a sour beer fan, if maybe my palate has changed. We're going to see here when we have 5 different kinds to try.
Did you not like it because of the taste? I didn't like it because the only thing that I knew about it was going to ball games, the kind of mushy, almost translucent, trashy sauerkraut. Like we never really, what household grows up with sauerkraut?
Right. Well, that would be the fast food version, wouldn't it, at the ball games? And maybe that's what I didn't like. I don't know. This stuff, I will say, looks much better than any sauerkraut I've ever seen.
Well, one thing about sauerkraut.
Yeah, thanks again to Micah for sending this in. So the first one I'm going to pass you guys is
Scott. Hang on one second. Go ahead, Sandor.
One thing about sauerkraut and really about most ferments is that they can be more fermented or less fermented, and the historical context for this food is that it was survival. It represented survival. Basically, the nutrients that are in vegetables preserved so people could have them throughout the winter, and so it would typically ferment for months. People in places who had access to salt would sometimes make it very, very salty, but it doesn't have to be very salty at all. It doesn't have to ferment for months. When I was doing my cross-country wild fermentation book tour, I ran out of my nice, mature 6-week-old sauerkraut at some point, and I began serving people sauerkraut that I had made just a few days earlier. And at first I was completely embarrassed about this until all of these people started saying, wow, that's the best sauerkraut I ever had in my life. I thought I didn't like sauerkraut, but that's delicious. So, I'm really just saying this because, the sort of, classic pasteurized sauerkraut that is, sold on hot dogs in ballparks, which I happen to have always liked, isn't the only way to make sauerkraut. You can incorporate, a vast array of different kinds of vegetables. You can make it very spicy. You can ferment it for a short time, in which case it's not extremely sour, or for a long time, in which case it will become very sour.
Okay.
The texture can be varied. It's an extremely versatile food that really could be tailored to anybody's palate.
See, I'm already suffering from the guest likeness that I always have. Every time we have a brewer on, and I'm not a big fan of their beer, but as soon as I hear them talk about it, I go, oh, their beer's wonderful.
That sounds great.
And you're already making me like sauerkraut. I haven't even tasted it yet. So, what do we have, Scott?
So speaking of the ballpark kraut, the first line here, the yellow stuff, that's the traditional kraut.
Okay.
And Micah, the guy who made this stuff, made it with white cabbage, garlic, and caraway seeds. The second row here is a red kraut. It's with red cabbage and mustard seeds. And then the next one is a Korean kraut, which is white cabbage, white onion, garlic, ginger, and Korean chili powder. And we'll after we finish these, we'll have the other two.
I think I went to high school with a Korean kraut.
Did you?
Yeah.
That's weird. Let's try. All right, let's just start. Yeah, I want to start with the ballpark kraut. Let's go right for
the... Yeah, JP just went for the traditional.
Now, Scott is serving us this on sausage, but I think I should try a piece without the sausage. See what happens.
I agree, because I think the sausage has quite a bit of cinnamon in it.
Okay. Oh, it's not bad.
It's very crunchy still.
It's not bad at all.
No, it's great.
It tastes more like I wonder if this is a young fermentation now that I've listened to you describe that, Sandor, because it tastes more pickled than it does sour. Mm-hmm. Now, it certainly has sourness.
Well, there's a lot of confusion over those expressions. Pickle is sour. Pickle means anything preserved in an acidic medium.
I see.
So sauerkraut would always be a pickle.
Got it. Well, then, this is already better than any sauerkraut I've ever had.
Agreed. Yeah, Micah suggested that I get store-bought sauerkraut to sort of compare. But I figure, other than Justin, who doesn't like it, we've all had it a thousand times.
I have a memory of that for sure.
And it's kind of generic.
But, if you seek it out, in most places in the United States these days, you actually could buy, sort of good, locally made, store-bought sauerkraut. It's sort of like seeking out the microbrews rather than, Anheuser-Busch products.
That makes sense.
Well, sometimes the Anheuser-Busch products can be superior to microbrew. I mean, does that hold with sauerkraut as well?
Yeah. Well, I would say not. No, I would say that unpasteurized sauerkraut almost always tastes much better than pasteurized sauerkraut.
Okay,
because
just flavor texture.
Okay. How much sauerkraut?
The pasteurized sauerkraut tends to have that texture that you're kind of putting down from the ballpark hot dogs. I mean, it just has a very different texture to it.
Got it. Well, now this second one described as what, Scott?
This was the red kraut, red cabbage, and mustard seeds.
Now this has even less of the pickle sour flavor.
I think it's that mustard seed kind of toning it down, maybe.
It tastes a little bit like cat food, I have to admit.
How would you know?
I've never had to eat that.
I like that one.
Sorry.
It reminded me of a Reuben sandwich.
You were poor?
Yeah, when you were a kid, you never tried to eat cat food?
No. Oh, you mean I ate a dog biscuit once, but never cat food.
What is wrong with you guys?
You try things.
Dog biscuits were all fair fodder, but not the cat food.
Yeah, it has a
fish food.
There's like a certain bitterness to cat food that this also has. I usually like bitterness, but
can you possibly come up with a better
I'm trying to
comparison? Because raise your hand if you've eaten cat food.
That's the best one I have.
1, 2, 3, no one.
In Justin's defense, though, it does kind of smell. It tastes like cat food smells.
Well, there
and
you
I
go.
have smelled it, so you're onto something.
So I feel bad for this listener because now he's 50-50 because first he gave me the best sauerkraut I've ever had, and now he's giving me cat food.
He's got 3 more tries here.
That's true. All right, so this one then is the one with the chili powder?
The Korean.
Correct, yeah, the Korean kraut.
Is it spicy?
He says basically the ingredients of kimchi, but fermented in the German style. And you'll be the judge of if it's spicy.
It's not.
It can only taste the meat.
It's not spicy. Yeah, you got to eat just the pieces of the kraut without the meat. It's wonderful, though. I could eat that. I could eat that on a hot dog all day long.
Do you like kimchi?
I don't know. I don't think I've ever had it.
When we went to that Szechuan place a few months ago, that was what they were, kimchi with the spicy peanuts or whatever.
I don't know.
All right, I'm going to go get the other two. Do you want it just the kraut? I thought the meat would be a good balance, but we could do just the kraut.
Just the kraut. Quicker, just bring the kraut.
Yeah. Well, Sandor, I'm already becoming a fan of kraut.
Well, I wish I had this tasting platter in front of me so I could be tasting the same things.
Yeah, your descriptors would be much better than mine. I'm sure of it.
I've never had cat food kraut before.
Sandor, I think you can use that taste descriptor in your next book.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. How many sauerkrauts do you have fermenting now? I gather that this is an ongoing thing for you.
Well, it is an ongoing thing for me. I mean, this is not a huge time of the year for making sauerkraut.
Okay.
So, I mean, I actually have the bottom of the barrel, as it were, of a batch of radish kraut that I made in a 55-gallon oak barrel last November.
Okay.
And I did make a batch last week, but of a very short term, like a corn relish. Like I take sweet corn, cut the raw kernels off of the ear, chop up a chili pepper and an onion and some garlic, salt it, and then squeeze it for a few minutes with my hands to get everything nice and juicy, and then stuff it into a jar and just ferment it for a few days. And it's incredibly, incredibly delicious, like a fermented corn relish, really.
Wow.
But it's gone. I mean, the summer is not a good time for long-term preservation. Really, like the ferments that you tend to age for a long time, you make later in the season as it's beginning to get cool. So, around here, October, November would be the time for sort of putting up batches that are going to get you through the winter. So you can make it any time of the year, but the context, how long you can use it is different depending on the season and the temperature, and also what your storage possibilities are. If you have an unheated cellar, you can age things through the winter much more easily than if you live in an apartment or a home that's all heated.
So much like our brewing of beer, temperature control of these fermentations is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And, different types of ferments have different ideal temperature ranges.
So, in listening to this, I'm realizing that I am just as naive about something like sauerkraut and how varied it can be as I was about homebrewing when we started the Brewing Network.
Sauerkraut Network.
Well, one of the ones he mentioned was in a barrel, and then the relish style and the different ingredients that you can use. These are all things that I learned as we talked about homebrewing that I couldn't imagine beer could be.
Yeah,
and he's describing this food to me as something I couldn't. I much like you, JP, thought it was the yellow stuff that goes on a hot dog, and that's that.
That's all it is.
And I would argue that beer is a lot broader of a topic than hopped and malted barley.
Right.
I write in the book about African style sorghum beers and Mexican style corn beers. But the reality is that the techniques for fermenting grains into alcohol are actually quite varied. And there's a lot of possibilities beyond the wonderful familiar malted and hopped barley.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you bring that up because in the fermenting alcoholic beverages sections, there's actually a fairly small amount of time spent on barley based beer, and a lot more on some of the varieties that Sandor just mentioned. Although I will say that Sandor spends a little bit of time talking about malting your own barley.
Oh wow!
Which I found interesting, and he's got some information from our friend Dr. Bamforth up at Davis in there,
all right,
and some other folks that you'll recognize throughout the book. And I did find that interesting. Of course, I skipped ahead to the beer section to see what we were going to find, and there's a very nice discussion about malting your own barley and really doing it all yourself rather than just buying it that way. But then again, if you're interested in fermenting beverages in general, there's just tons of info about other beverages.
Yeah, there's more to ferment than beer.
Yeah.
Oh.
So
well, and I mean, beer in a way is the most technically demanding of any of the alcohol ferments. If you want to turn honey into alcohol, it's much easier than to turn barley into alcohol. You just dilute the honey with water, and the process will happen more or less spontaneously. Same thing with grapes or really any other fruit will spontaneously ferment into alcohol. But barley will spontaneously ferment into acids. I have in the section of fermenting grains and making porridges. I have all sorts of easy spontaneous fermentations of grains into something kind of acidic. But to turn grains into alcohol requires that the step of breaking down starches into sugars, and that's what malting is in the Western tradition of beer making. It's an enzymatic process that breaks down starches into sugars. In the Asian traditions, this is done generally in a completely different way, using molds, growing molds on rice or on barley, which molds that have amylase enzymes and do exactly the same thing, break down the starches, the complex carbohydrates into fermentable sugars, simple carbohydrates. And the third way, which is really the first way that people around the world figured out how to do this, is using saliva. We have enzymes in our saliva that break down starches into sugars, and that's one of the things that it means when they say digestion begins in your mouth. And so the most ancient traditions of making alcoholic beverages from grains involve chewing the grains, and actually these traditions survive in several different parts of the world.
Now, Sandor, that's where I've drawn the line. Okay, and I got to that part in your book, and in fact, we've talked about it here before, and I was doing so well. You were helping me along so much, and then I got to the part about the saliva beer.
Uh-oh, shut
and
down.
I went right back. I reverted right back to old me.
You throw the book?
But of course, Sandor's right, and this is a traditional way to add enzymes to break down the sugars, and I still can't get my head around it.
Look, if you don't have a homebrew shop, what are you going to do? You need to ferment. You're going to chew your mash.
That's right.
That's all what happens.
Or have other people do it
or
for
figure
you.
out how to malt your own barley.
Or exactly. Or do it that way.
Yeah.
Well, let me get to some of the questions I had mentioned in the chat room. It's going to skip us around a little bit, Sandor, but it's all stuff that's in your book here. Tom writes in, hey, Bev, could you please pass along this question? Summer sausage is fermented with lactic acid bacteria in the form of a powder, he says. Is it conceivable that I could use the culture from a lambic beer to ferment sausage?
Is it conceivable? Yes, it is conceivable.
Okay.
Is it advisable? That's hard to say. I mean, just to give you a sense of adding starter cultures to fermented sausages. It seems that this was first done in 1961. So basically, all fermented sausage up until that time was done not necessarily by adding lambic beer, but by, relying on the bacteria that are just spontaneously present. I imagine one could replace the powdered starter culture with nothing.
Yeah.
Or one could, add various, other kinds of starters. To a large degree, starters can be used interchangeably. What's important is that it be a bacterial starter and not a pure yeast starter. But a lambic beer would certainly have a mixed culture that included lactic acid bacteria.
Sure. Okay.
But it might also give your sausage a kind of a yeasty flavor that might not be so desirable.
And I feel like if you're going to, although you do encourage experimentation in the book, I feel like if you're going to go through all of the effort to make a sausage, in my opinion, I'm stacking the deck in my favor.
The pure culture.
Yeah, I'm getting the run,
I like it. Can you do it? Yeah. Should you do it? Nah.
And Sandor, I felt the same. I did also skip right ahead to the cheese section because do I love me some stinky cheese. And you just you did a great job of kind of describing the differences between the hard cheese and the stinky cheese and I just love it. And so I of course went ahead to the section of how to make it. But then Sandor kind of goes on to say, like, if you really wanted, if it kind of said to me, if you're really going to make good cheese, you better spend some time studying this.
Yeah, dude.
Because, in other words, you were saying we can all do this, but that good cheese that I like is made by professionals.
Right.
So's the beer.
Right, it's homebrewing.
Well,
right?
and the other thing is that it takes a lot of milk to make a pound of cheese.
Okay.
I've had the good fortune to be able to experiment quite a bit with cheese making, but it's because I was living with goats. And in the summer, there were just gallons and gallons of milk that we, ran out of room for in the refrigerator. So, it sort of was like community service work to make cheese out of it. But I think once you're off of a farm context where there's a supply of milk demanding to be used, it's an expensive thing to learn. And, it's very rewarding, but it might make more sense to go to a farm where they're, where they're producing the milk and trying to produce cheese and just learning from that rather than, buying gallons and gallons of milk for your experiments.
Right. Good call. Yeah. Or get a bunch of goats.
Or get a bunch of goats. I made goat cheese once by a bunch of goat milk, and it's a lot for very little yield.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I know we're running a little short on time, and just a couple more questions from the chat. But I wanted to talk about another thing that I felt was important in the book, and I feel like it's pretty important to you, and that's about the health benefits of fermented food. And it seems that it kind of goes back to the natural bacteria that lives in our bodies, and maybe what we've done to that natural bacteria over the years with all of the purified foods that we eat. Do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with how you feel fermented foods affect our bodies and our digestion and our health in general?
Yeah, sure. I would say that, fermented foods fermentation transforms foods nutritionally in a few broad ways. And of course, ferments are so varied that, it's impossible to generalize, about, let's say bread, sauerkraut, salami, chocolate, and yogurt. Obviously, each of these foods has, its own sort of distinctive nutritional qualities or lack thereof. But fermentation transforms foods in a few broad ways. Number one, we can call predigestion. I'll just list them and then I'll come in and discuss each one for a second. Predigestion, detoxification, nutrient enhancement, and then finally live bacterial culture. So predigestion is the idea that the fermentation breaks down dense compound nutrients into simpler, more elemental forms that it's generally easier for our bodies to assimilate.
Okay.
I think soybeans offer maybe the most vivid illustration of this. The reason why the vegetarian subcultures adopted soybeans as an almost singular replacement for meat and milk is that soybeans are considered to be the plant source, the plant food with the most concentrated protein. But you never hear about people sitting down and eating a bowl of soybeans for dinner because it would just give you awful gas and indigestion, and our human bodies are just not capable of extracting the protein from a soybean. And so, the Asian cultures that pioneered soy agriculture developed all of these different ways of fermenting soybeans. There's soy sauce, there's miso, there's tempeh, there's natto. There's many variations on those four themes, and these foods are very distinct from one another in flavor and in texture, but what they all have in common is that the soy protein gets broken down into amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins. So predigestion, that's like, breaking, dense nutrients that are often inaccessible to us into simpler forms that it's easier for our bodies to access.
Okay.
Lactose is broken down by fermentation. Even gluten is broken down by a bacterial fermentation. Then detoxification is an aspect of that, and all around the world there are various nuts and roots and foods that would be toxic in some way without fermentation, but the fermentation removes the toxicity, essentially by predigesting those toxic compounds into benign forms. The most famous example of this would be cassava, which is a starchy tropical tuber that's very important food. But in certain soils, it produces extraordinarily high levels of cyanide that would kill people if they weren't processed. The processing is extremely simple. They're peeled, coarsely chopped, and placed in water, and the water initiates a bacterial fermentation that breaks down the cyanide into benign elements. Nutrient enhancement is basically the idea that the fermentation generates additional nutrients. Almost all fermented foods have higher levels of B vitamins than the raw foods that you begin with, and this basically involves an accumulation of microbial bodies, living and or dead, in the food, and they embody B vitamins. There are also these sort of unique micronutrients that are essentially metabolic byproducts of different organisms, but some of them have been found to be anti-carcinogenic, protecting us from cancers. One in particular from the Japanese soy ferment called natto has this compound called natto kinase, which can help prevent unwanted blood clots. It sort of regulates blood clotting, and it also can basically clear out clogged arteries.
I want it.
Dissolve the fibers that accumulate in blood vessels. Certain of these metabolic byproducts have been found to be especially beneficial. Now, all the things I've just mentioned would be true of a food whether it was cooked after the fermentation or not. What's really the most profound benefit of certain fermented foods is the live bacterial cultures themselves, but they're only alive if the food hasn't been cooked after the fermentation. So raw yogurt, raw unpasteurized sauerkraut, raw kombucha, and other lightly fermented beverages. I would even argue that lambic beers and wild yeasted beers, which incorporate lactic acid bacteria, have this kind of probiotic quality where the bacteria themselves can help to replenish and diversify bacterial populations in our gut, which we desperately need, but because we have this constant contact with all of these chemical compounds that are designed to kill bacteria, they're under continuous assault in our bodies. So, we need to be consciously replenishing them. One way people do this is with capsules, probiotics. But really, many traditional fermented foods that are not cooked after their fermentation, are every bit as probiotic, and I would argue more probiotic than supplements you can buy.
Well, I am drinking plenty of sour beer, so I am positive that my digestive tract is just where it should be.
Your biotics are all pro.
Yeah, I wonder why doctors don't ever recommend you should drink more sour beer.
They're just not as advanced as we are yet. Now, Sandor in his book is very careful to point out that there's a lot of claims about the health benefits of fermentation that are yet undocumented and yet unresearched. But still, there are some examples from readers, and I assume people that you've met throughout the years, some even claiming that it has cured autism in their child, others that it cured a lifelong problem of the inability to digest foods, like having, in fact, she claims to be misdiagnosed with IBS, with irritable bowel syndrome, and once as a result of medications treating other problems. But then once introducing fermented foods into her system, that her IBS mysteriously went away. And again, Sandor's careful to point out that he's not making medical claims, but there's a lot of fascinating stories about how people consuming fermented foods and how it's affected their lives. That it's just really interesting stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I hear a lot of dramatic stories like that, and particularly from people who have suffered from some kind of digestive complication or chronic digestive problems, acid reflux, chronic constipation, painful digestion. Many people who have had a long history of problems with digestion, once they start trying to incorporate these live culture foods into their diet, find that everything changes for them.
Sure.
Interesting.
Well, it's very good stuff, and I recommend this book for anybody who is into growing their own food, into making cheese, into fermenting anything, not the least of which, of course, is beer or other alcoholic beverages. It's really an in-depth look at not just the history, but the techniques of doing so much of it, and I've been enjoying it very much.
That is interesting, yeah.
One last question from the chat here. Mike writes in, have you done, and I don't know who this person is, but have you done anything like David Chang's Katsubushi?
Well, I have gotten to visit the test kitchen at Momofuku, but no, I haven't done anything specifically like that.
What is Katsubushi?
It's an opera. It's all ancient Japanese opera.
I see. And is that Sandor's other field? No,
I don't know.
It's one of the Kama Sutra positions.
Right. Sandor's like, all right.
I mean, it's a fermented fish.
Okay. Oh, that's another one in the book that's pretty interesting.
Is that where they bury it for a long time, or am I thinking kimchi?
Well, there's so many techniques for fermenting fish. I mean, even sushi. I mean, just like fresh milk is a phenomenon of the 20th century, so is the sushi that we know. You need a refrigerated counter for that fish to be in to have fresh sushi. The historical origin of sushi is basically fermenting fish. Fermenting raw fish in a bed of cooked rice, because the limitation with preserving fish and meat through fermentation is that the acids, which are the byproduct of fermentation that preserve food, are made from carbohydrates, and flesh has barely any carbohydrate content. So when you put the fish in a bed of rice, what you're doing is putting it in an environment full of carbohydrates that, as they ferment, will create acids which will enable the fish to be preserved.
I'm telling you, it's amazing stuff.
Yeah.
There's some info in there about moving from traditional techniques to modern techniques and the problems that it's causing too. I mean, almost every section has some really interesting things. But you were talking about burying the fish in the ground, JP, and I didn't look at all the techniques, but Sandor brings up a point where modern cultures are instead of burying it in the ground, they're putting it in plastic bins to do the same process.
Yeah.
And that's creating problems with bacteria that we don't want.
Is it doing good as well, or is it just causing problems?
Well, I mean, the particular story that he's citing is, where the greatest incidence of botulism in North America is coming from Alaska, and it's basically native people who are fermenting fish, sort of in the traditional ways, except that instead of lining their pits with pine leaves or grass or other sort of permeable plant substances, they're using plastic. And so they're creating an anaerobic environment at the bottom, which allows this bacteria, Clostridium botulinum, that produces the most dangerous toxin known to humanity, which is botulism.
Right.
The fermentation of fish has absolutely been an essential survival practice in that part of the year. I mean, people never could have settled in that harsh environment if they didn't figure out how to make fish that they could catch in the summertime when waterways are accessible to feed them through the wintertime. But sometimes sort of through the generations and historical change, certain of the details get obscured, and so some contemporary people are mistakenly interpreting the practices of their forebears and lining the pits with plastic, which is creating a problem and really not creating any advantages.
It's the stories like that are throughout the book that, to me, make it just as much an anthropological look at us as it is a fascination with fermentation, because it's in every step of the way. It's about our history and how it affects us and how it affects our bodies. And it just anyway, I got real excited about it, Sandor, and I think a lot of people that read the book.
I'm so glad you enjoyed the book, and I'd love to just mention that I have a website, which is wildfermentation.com, and I have links on my website to all sorts of fermentation-related resources, and also that I do a lot of teaching. And I have a place in Tennessee where I live, where I teach, but I also travel around quite a bit and teach. And I list all of the workshops as well as workshops that other people do on my website. So anyone who's interested in learning more about fermentation, please check out my website, wildfermentation.com.
And awesome. I'm sure you can. I found the book at Barnes & Noble, but I'm sure it's on Amazon and all over the place.
Yeah, what's a Barnes & Noble? I don't even know what that means.
I don't know, but that's where I found it. The Art of Fermentation is what it's called. It's Sandor Katz. It's fantastic stuff. By the way, Sandor, I just got back from Tennessee. I was in Nashville for a few days.
Tennessee.
And I don't know how close you are to there, but they have a fantastic beer scene.
I'm definitely familiar with some of the local brews. The Yazoo Hops Project beer is one of my local favorites.
I went to Yazoo. It was my favorite brewery there, and the reason actually one of our listeners is doing their wild fermentation project there. So I had his Brett Saison. And it was It was the best. He said it was fermented with 2 strains of Brettanomyces, and it was the best beer I had in Tennessee. It was fantastic.
All right. Are they going to be putting that one on the market soon?
It's available in the tap house right now. It's a very small barrel project, I guess they're doing. So if you go to Yazoo, you can get it. But he also told me that they'll be releasing several more wild fermentations over the next few months. So
okay, well, next time I go into Nashville, I'll go check it out. Thank you.
There you go. Thank you, Sandor. The Art of Fermentation, and go to wildfermentations.com. And just thank you so much for your time. It's a fantastic book, and thanks for being with us.
All right, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
There you go, folks.
That's good.
Sandor Katz. Read the book. We
live the book.
We scratched the surface. And, some of the comments... By the way, Charlie Papazian writes a recommendation on the back of the book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, you guys want to hear from Charlie?
Sure.
What does he say about it? The art of fermentation appeals to our personal and fundamental well-being with a thoroughly engaging account of wild, tamed, and unaccounted-for microorganisms. Based on theory, science, and practical observations, Sandor Katz casts thousands of dots onto the pages for us to connect with our own experiences and interests.
That was a terrible imitation. You just sounded like you.
Right. Yeah, Charlie Papazian's on the back of this book. As you read it, you hear a lot of the people that we've either had on the show or the books that we've read. Wild Brews, I forget the author name, but he's quoted in the book.
Sparrow?
Yep,
yeah, there you go, Sparrow.
Yep.
Of course, I mentioned Dr. Bamforth is in there. And when you get into the malting of barley, there's a couple other guys that we know. And so a lot of sources cited, and it's good stuff. Sandor Katz, ladies and gentlemen.
I grow my own food, some of my own food at home.
No, you don't.
I do. I just planted a new tree. It's a gordita tree.
It's a new Ford tree. Oh yeah,
Gordita.
Yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. In the winter, it gets super gorditas.
You should plant a 7-layer burrito tree.
It's not the right climate.
Nice.
They need higher elevation.
I see.
Idiot.
Well, good job. It's a good start anyway.
Thanks. I'm trying.
So all you eat is gorditas? Because you said you grow all of your food.
Well, I changed my mind. I said some of my food. Because you can't eat all gordita. I mean, they don't flower year-round.
Right. That makes sense. I don't know what I was thinking. I don't know what you were thinking. Aren't
you guys have taken all of this wonderful information we've just gotten and totally crapped on it.
And ruined
Congratulations.
Yeah, but it's a probiotic crap.
Right. All right, we got a lot more to do tonight, but please do go check out the book. You're going to love it, and we appreciate Sandor's time here on the program. Who's the listener who sent in the sauerkraut? What's his name?
His name's Micah.
Micah, thanks, buddy. You might have changed my opinion about sauerkraut. I'm going to eat the other, what do we have, like 3 more kinds to try?
2, but yeah, plenty.
All right, hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
Listening to the Brewcasters. On the Brewing Network.
Have you ever dreamed about attending the World Brewing Academy? This year, thanks to Lalamond and Danstar, one lucky brewer will make that dream a reality for free. Lalamond and Danstar invite you to enter the Beer School 2014 contest. One lucky grand prize winner will receive fully paid tuition in the 2014 World Brewing Academy web-based concise course in brewing technology worth almost $4,000. From now until December 13th, 2013, every Danstar yeast packet you use is your ticket to enter. Visit danstaryeast.com for the details and to print your official entry form. There's no limit on the number of times you can enter, so get brewing with Danstar and get your entries in to the Danstar 2014 Beer School Contest. Whether you want to build your home brewing skills or build a career as a professional brewer, this course will change the way you think of beer and brewing. Enter at danstaryeast.com and get the dry yeast advantage with Danstar and Lalamond Premium Brewing Yeast and enter to win. All right, BN Army, it's trivia time. What's the only homebrew shop with over 1,000 recipe kits, $4.99 shipping on orders over $100, and is also home of the Wolf Shirt? The one and only answer is Austin Homebrew Supply. For over 20 years, they've specialized in creating recipes such as the best-selling Texas Blonde Ale, Apocalypso, Hop Bomb 2.0, and Double Chocolate Stout. And they just recently unveiled their small grain kits that produce 1 gallon of beer. Visit AustinHomebrew.com to browse their extensive catalog of equipment and ingredients. They also have mini clone recipes of your favorite commercial beers. They're the exclusive retailer of BrewVent Yeast Fuel as well, Yeast Nutrient, and the all-new Bodybuilder. Follow Austin Homebrew Supply on Google Plus to participate in video hangouts on popular brewing topics. So visit AustinHomebrew.com today and make sure you sign up for their weekly email with news and specials. Austin Homebrew Supply, AustinHomebrew.com.
I-10, Getting tired of that same old handcrafted beverages day after day? Are you looking for something with more diversity than your normal beer? Fellow BN Army member Michael Fairbrother, owner of Moonlight Meadery, is reviving an entire beverage category, mead.
The meads at Moonlight Meadery are all handcrafted from the finest honey on the market and are perfect for any occasion, like weddings, baby showers, or...
Excuse me? Mead is not your average girly drink, mister, and Moonlight Meads can be enjoyed anytime, anywhere. Football games with the guys.
Yeah.
Barbecues with the guys.
Yeah.
Operating power tools with the guys.
Yeah. Actually, sir, that's really dangerous.
Good point, son.
Next time you have something to celebrate or are just looking for a new tasting experience, pick up a bottle of mead from Moonlight Meadery. Now in 21 states, making over 60 varieties of mead from dry, semi-sweet to sweet.
Break out of that craft beer lull. Grab a bottle of Moonlight Mead. Can't find some? Then ask. No, make that demand some.
Yeah!
Hey, my brewing brothers and sisters. This is Jamel Zanishev, and I want to tell you about Heretic Evil Twin. You might be familiar with my homebrew recipe, which uses massive late hopping to create a balance between the malty sweet and the hoppy bitter, along with an outrageous malt and hop character. I wanted a beer with the same bold hop and malt character, so we played around with the homebrew recipe until we were able to make a great commercial version too. We've created a beer rich in malt character, full of caramel, toast, biscuit, and an ever so subtle roast note. On top of that, we piled in an insane amount of Citra and Columbus hops at the end of the boil, as well as in dry hopping. This damn-the-cost approach to hopping gives Heretic's Evil Twin a great blast of citrus and tropical fruit that can't be matched by any other hop. The result is a bold, malty, hoppy, but easy-drinking beer. This is our top seller, our flagship beer, and I couldn't be prouder of it. Cheers.
To find Heretic beers near you, click on Find Some.
What's funny is brewers will say, yeah, I don't brew to style. I'm brewing my own beer. And it's like a German Pilsner, but it's black. Yeah, it's a sports beer. You know?
The home of live beer radio.
TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer,
radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The
Session.
tuned into The Session.
Because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to the program. Thanks for hanging out with us. Thanks again to Sandor Katz, author of The Art of Fermentation. Go to wildfermentation.com and check out all the info that you need right there.
So at the beginning of that song, are those sirens or are they wolves howling?
I think they're sirens.
I think it's people going, woo! I don't.
It's probably. I think that Push probably put sirens in there to match our location in Martinez. Which, by the way, I just found the front door unlocked. I had to go out and lock it again.
Thank God.
For the fear of the Martians coming in again.
What was his name? Curtis or Corey or Kevin or
Crazy?
Ted?
Crazy.
Wasn't it New York? I thought it was a city. His name was a city.
I don't think so. He just was a Martian. I don't know. All right, like I said, we've got a lot to do today, and right now we've got our friend Crispy. It's Crispy Fry on the line with us to talk about a new project with the AHA. How you doing, Crispy?
I am Crispy.
Are you fully recovered from the Homebrewers Conference? It's been a while.
It has been a while, and there's been a Michigan Homebrew Festival and a lot of good times in between since then, so just keeping it at a good simmer.
Okay, good. Well, I'm happy to talk to you, Crispy. If you don't know who Crispy is, he is the artist formerly known as the president of our governing committee. He's still with the governing committee, and he represents us over on the Brewers Association as well. Plus, he's an all-around good homebrew dude who's been doing things for you that you don't even know about for years. You can always find him at the National Homebrewers Conference, and he's just a good dude. I'm happy to be talking to you, Crispy.
Oh, thank you.
So, Crispy has introduced to the AHA a new project that he's here to talk about called the Research and Educational Fund. Tell us about it, Crispy.
Well, let's start with the really boring name. It's pretty self-explanatory, Research and Education Fund. We were thinking of having some other fun names. We were talking about the Awesome Club of Awesomeness Award earlier, doing something with Club Awards along those lines. And we said, this isn't the let's see if you really can blow up a bourbon barrel, or let's see how much money the AHA money we can spend fund. This is really a research and education fund. And it came out, I've been on the governing committee going on 10 years now. And 10 years ago, we had 8,500 members, and we were bleeding, doing really bad. And I had run on a foundation saying that, hey, we need to give back to the membership. we need to kick it up a notch. And I got in and realized we're going out of business sale here. So we focused on doing things to improve the membership numbers. And now that we're healthy, this is a great way to give back. Lots of clubs and lots of people already design their activities and experiments around, learning something new. And now that the AHA is healthy, it's a way to give back and also to expand the knowledge to everybody. So members can submit proposals to do a project, do a research or an experiment, and can receive monies back. And we get to share the results with everybody. So that's it in the thumbnail. The details I can get into, but that's high level.
Well, we can get into some of them, but I love the idea. I've loved it since you mentioned it, Crispy, and the timing is just perfect. Over the last few years, I've heard different people talk about the need for more actual scientific research in beer, because believe it or not, there's just not a whole lot of it going on. It's certainly not being documented. I mean, homebrewers and craft brewers are experimenting all over the place, right? But the fact of it being documented. Garrett Oliver, when he put out the what was that giant book that he just
Encyclopedia of Brewing or whatever?
Yeah, essentially. I did a talk with him at the Great American Beer Festival, and he was really advocating that we should have positions in our brewery for documenting the experiments that we're doing, and that there should be more research going on, an actual scientific notation of the things that we're doing. Charles Bamforth has said the same thing, that when they're doing when they're writing their textbooks and doing the things they're doing up at UC Davis, it's still just barely scratching the surface of what we could be doing to learn more about beer.
Right.
So to me, this is awesome. It's what you're doing, Crispy, with this program is you're crowdsourcing.
We are, and I want to put in a caveat here because you just mentioned two of the brightest names in the brewing world, and so we've just scared off 34 of the 35,000 AHA members and thousands of the Brewing Network members because, geez, Charles Bamforth, for God's sakes, Garrett Oliver. We've gotten proposals already. Some of them are uber geeky, yet they don't have to be.
Right.
They don't have to be. They can be simple and fun. I mean, we've had the very first one that got done was simply splitting a batch of identical ciders with 5-6 different yeast strains and then having some double-blind tests with BJCPs in the public. And that was actually presented this year at Philadelphia. Yet we got another guy who's going out down to the orange groves of Florida, and he's scraping wild yeast off of the citrus crops, trying to see if one of them can become a beer brewing I can't even come up with it. Saccharomyces.
Right.
We've got people who are working on water chemistry of mead, but other people are doing something that's very simple, a clean, simple proposal. I mean, we're talking about funding somebody up to $250 for their supplies and for some lab analysis. We'll double it if you bring it to a national homebrew conference because with 1,000 people in a room and you do a presentation. Hell, 10 gallons gets you 1 ounce of a sip to everybody in the room.
Right.
So it's getting harder and harder to, encourage people, homebrewers with a good idea to get in front of 1,000 people when it used to be 100 or 200 and share their idea and maybe a little bit of a sample. So yeah, it is crowdsourcing and we want to really just have it grow and get big and I'm really glad we're on the air talking about it because we want to bang the drums and let people know there's money out there and we're waiting to get these ideas and we've got a terrific subcommittee. We got a bunch of people who aren't even on the governing committee. As soon as we mention it, we got a bunch of really bright people who know how to help people get to yes. Because, we've had a lot of proposals come in that were too broad, too wild, too far out. And it's like, okay, let's draw it in. Let's get a couple of teachable points out of this so it can be reproducible and so people can understand it. And actually, people really appreciate that because they realize they've maybe bit off more than they can chew.
Sure.
And things are starting to really shape up on the initial proposals.
So how does it work? Where do people propose, and then what is the process that happens from there?
Well, there's a couple of places they can find it, but if they go to the AHA site and they go to the community section, that's the second column there, and you work your way down, there's the Research and Education Fund, and there's a submission form, and it's a whole overview of the program. You can also backdoor through the form. There's under general discussion, there's a pinned item that's, again, on the Research and Education Fund. But there's a basic proposal form where members are just going to put out, this is my idea, here's my proposed budget. We're going to, of course, work with people on that, but up to $250, like I said. Here's the parameters of what I'm trying to do. that immediately gets sent to the 8 or 10 people here in the Research and Education Fund. We're going to take a look at it as a team for a couple of days, and then so far, every time we've had one person raise their hand as a coach. That coach is then going to communicate with that person saying, hey, love the idea, maybe we need to kind of tighten it up here or focus it there or proceed. And when you're done, and when the AHA and its members get what we consider decent research, something that's readable and makes sense and can be shared either through the website, Zymergy, or at a conference, then submit your receipts and we're going to pay you back.
Got it.
I like it.
It's a great idea, right?
It is, yeah.
And who knows how much information, either profound or small or large, could really come out of this, because we all know how many homebrewers out there are really geeking out about this stuff. Or even just guys willing to do a creative experiment that we'd all be interested in.
Yeah.
So I really like it. It's a great way to get, I think, our community involved.
For sure, yeah.
Homebrewersassociation.org is the website, if you didn't already know. That is your American Homebrewers Association. And in fact, Crispy, right now on the homepage, they're featuring the first AHA-funded research project, which was the cider yeast comparison you mentioned.
That's right, and we did that just as a teaser, and we might put out the next couple of ones. But after that, it's really going to become a members-only property.
Okay,
at least that's how it's envisioned. That we have certain sections of the website that's member-only content, but at the same time, it's tough holding back knowledge to the whole community. So. I think that's still up for discussion, but that was the last general direction we were going.
Well, that's all right, and some of that information is going to leak out into the public anyway. But let's face it, this is member dollars being spent on member research, so it's okay if it's a members-only area, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely.
This is my dues going toward these research funds.
That's right. That's right.
So, well, again, Crispy, I love it. It's just a good idea, and I think we're going to see some good things out of it.
Well, I appreciate you letting me have the opportunity to bang the drums. We're hoping to see a whole bunch more coming in. We've got budget. Operators are standing by. Send us your ideas, no matter how crazy. We'll help you shape them up into something that we can approve and get you to yes.
See, I like that too. That you're not just sending rejection letters. If there are some good ideas in there, you're working with folks to get it right.
Yep. We've only had one that's a little bit farther out than we can even handle, and I don't know how big a market there is for hydroponic pots, or hydroponic hops.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry Tasty sent that in. I told him just...
I need more than 250 is all.
Yeah.
Per light,
He already had all the equipment. He just wanted to try plants.
Exactly. All right, homebrewersassociation.org, and then click on Community. You'll find the Research and Education Fund down in that list, and go check it out. You can submit there, and if you're an AHA member, which of course you should be, then you're going to benefit from this information right there on the website, too, as the projects are funded and completed. Crispy, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Guys, have fun. Take care.
Take care. All right, there you go. Crispy's a fun dude.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
That's a good little program.
It's a good program, and I know that he's been thinking about it for a while, and it just was the right time to implement it, and I think we're going to see some good things out of it. Well, it's just about time for our Brewcaster Challenge update. I think we're just waiting on Johnny P. to call back in and get ready for his update. Of course,
you were right. He is calling in. He's not going to show up.
He's calling in. Yeah. He called in once already. I think I gave him the wrong time, and he's calling back now here in a couple minutes. But here, I'll give you the rundown as we're waiting for that. And essentially, the third Brewcaster Challenge was assigned to John Plisse and Doc, and we gave them a Roggen beer.
Nice on that.
To try. And of course, we're not only looking for things to challenge our brewers. Yeah, Tasty, you were lucky.
I didn't realize I was lucky.
You thought we were
going to pull that shit on me.
You thought we were giving you the finger with your wit beer.
I'm so thankful.
Yeah, we really
I can actually drink this beer.
Right. Of course, our idea with the challenge is to have some fun competing against each other, but we don't want to make it too easy on the brewers themselves, so we're not going to pick things that are right in their wheelhouse. But on top of that, we want it all to be educational. And my thought was that if guys like Doc and John Plisse are learning through the process, then so are we really learning through the process, because it's just the best way that it works. Doc's going to discover new things, and John's going to discover new things.
Yeah.
And when they do that, I think it really helps us all. So that was the idea behind picking Roggen beer.
Well, and just to have with everybody.
Now, at the time, we didn't have. None of us had tasted a Roggen beer when we assigned this to John and Doc, and in fact, we weren't even sure if we could get a sample. Well, as always, the listeners have come through, and JP went out and did some research, and Moscow did some research, and even some of our German friends, I don't think that beer is here yet, but it's on the way, have sent us some Roggen beer to try. So we're going to get to taste it ahead of time. We're also going to hear from Doc and John about their beer. John, you with us, buddy?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I'm sorry to interrupt your family time tonight, but this is important stuff.
No, I agree. Way more important.
Yeah, family's forever, dude. This challenge is for like a week.
Yeah, exactly.
So here's what we'll do. I want to hear about each brewer's brew day, how it went, and how fermentation is going. You don't have to give away too much if you don't want to. At the end of hearing from both of you, we're going to bet. The brewcasters here in the studio, as we've done with each challenge, will bet on who we think the winner is going to be. So John, again, you can give away as much or as little info as you like, but just keep in mind that the segment is educational, so even though you're here in a competition, give us something, Besides, there's not much either of you can do at this point to alter the course of events. I assume you're both pretty deep into fermentation.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's start with John, and tell us about, first of all, a little bit about your recipe, and then on to your brew day and how you think it went.
Brew day was pretty smooth, about 5.5 hours. I spent about an hour and a half the day before prepping water, getting all my volume of water ready, and then...
Were you prepping like water chemistry too? Is that...
Yeah, I just measured out my salts, the 5-2 stuff. I got I added some calcium chloride. I add that to most of my beers here to soften the water.
Okay.
And then I actually prepped the morning of brew day. I added rice hulls, a pound of rice hulls, and I actually added it in layers so I could get even distribution when I stirred it during dough-in.
Wow.
Kind of. I do have a wider mash tun, so I had pretty good efficiency. I had like 83% efficiency.
Okay.
I did do a step mash with using direct flame to the mash tun.
Wait, hang on one second. Before we go to that, because that's interesting that you use direct flame too, but didn't you and Doc agree on something with the mash ingredients? Didn't it have to be 50% rye?
50% rye.
Okay, so you both did that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. And then that's the reason for needing the rice hulls, right? Because the rye is
it's like wheat with no husks.
Okay.
It's the same way, so you don't want a big dough ball.
Got it. Okay. Sorry, just want to catch up there. All right, so then you did a step mash.
Yeah, stepped it. I did the beta-glucan rest at 113, and then I did a protein rest at 131, and then I did a sugar rest at 153, and then I did an alpha amylase rest at 162.
Okay.
So, and I was actually surprised. I actually had the flame on almost the entire time and did a McDole recirculation the entire time, and I stirred probably 15, 20 times through the process. It was interesting during dough-in. The rye malt was it was definitely high in protein. It was very gummy, and it was interesting. The layer and the colors on the mash was like just like gum. I mean, it looked like gum.
Really?
Protein I've ever seen in a mash before.
Wow.
So I never brewed a rye beer, so I was a little nervous.
Sure. Now, with the direct fire, but you're constantly recirculating the mash, and then, of course, you mentioned stirring, that's all to keep from scorching at the bottom?
Exactly, yeah. You get hot pockets if you have direct flame. If you don't stir, you'll find that with a temperature reading, it'll be like 130 in one spot, then 145 in another.
Right.
You really got to be on top of your mash because you could really screw it up. And it was interesting. When I got around 140, I was pretty dialed at like 5 different points in the mash, and then all of a sudden, at like 149, when I was ready to do my sugar rest, it just spiked to 152 out of nowhere, and I was like kind of freaking out. So,
see, I have that. Honestly, and I'm not. This isn't one of my exaggerations here. I have that problem just with single infusion mashes. I have the thin, tall mash tun, and I got to get in there and really, really stir it around and stir it again, even for that initial temperature to come right. Because it'll go from 140, and before I know it, it's 158 because of whatever pocket is on my thermometer. And I've got two thermometers.
Yeah.
I've got the temperature probe for my electronic device in one area, and then in another one I've got the regular analog, thermometer. And anyhow, I get those hot pockets too. Never mind doing multiple steps.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's almost unavoidable. It's going to happen even in single infusion. Any step, I think you have to be just completely anal retentive and just take readings for the entire day during the mash.
Well, you're just the guy to do that, John. Please say.
Yeah, that's true.
Now, did you end up hitting every step that you wanted?
I did. I actually was, I was kind of, it's funny, I was brewing and I was like online and I was freaking out like, oh shit, is this temperature right? I kind of read about it and that stuff and I was like, I hit 113 on the button and that was just by dumb luck. That's the high end, the breaking down of the glutens, the glucanase or whatever they're called, the betas.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God for Palmer's book online. That was sweet. That came in handy in his little protein rest chart. So thank you, John Palmer.
There you go. Okay.
Anyways, that's the mash. I thought that's it.
So that's it for mash. Let me interrupt this for 1 second because we did pour one of these Roggen beers in here. Whose beer is this one?
This one is from Rubens Brews up in Seattle, Washington. This was sent in by Brian Johnson, and he sent a lot of other beers too. So thanks, man. That's awesome.
That's a fantastic beer.
It's pretty good.
I'm enjoying. I thought for sure I was not going to like a Roggen beer because of the closeness to Hefeweizen yeast. The kind of, I was expecting a lot of clove and banana things, but the rye spice in this, and it's
tastes like a rye bread,
and it's a lot of it. Yeah, is more like a rye bread and less of the banana bullshit that I don't like. I really like this beer.
It still has the banana, but you're just saying the rye just kind of cuts it.
It's more subtle. Yeah.
It's lower ester, but yeah.
Which I'm sure John and Doc can talk to us about their fermentation, how that might impact that too. But I think that in particular, the rye malt helps that style of beer for me quite a bit. I like this beer. It's really good. Okay, so how did you hop the beer, John? Is this a hoppy style or no?
I was aggressive on the late hop. I thought I went with Saws rather than the Hallertauer because I thought it was spiciness, influence from the rye. You get spiciness from the Weizen yeast.
Yeah.
So I said, I went with the Saws to just kind of accentuate the aromas of spice. So I bittered with Hallertauer.
Okay.
That's it.
It's a low IBU style, right?
Yeah, it's pretty low.
Okay. I like your
12 to 20.
I like your experimenting with the Saws. That's a good idea. And now you're fermenting away, or is fermentation done?
Fermentation is done. I crashed it yesterday. It's at 50 right now. I'm lagering it for about another week.
What temperature did you do primary?
62.
Okay.
I pitched at 65. I didn't do any starter. I just did 2 packs of Y yeast.
Okay.
I figured there's plenty of yeast in there anyways, and I didn't have time really, but...
Just went for it. Attaboy.
Yeah, who cares? And then the Weizen yeast was crazy. In about 16 hours, 12 hours, I had full Kreuzen. And then at 24, it just exploded. And then it was done in 2 days, the Weizen yeast.
Wow.
Yeah, the 3068 from Y yeast. And then the Kolsch's, the 2565 strain, it didn't peak until about 48 hours later. And then it hit full Kreuzen about, 72 hours later. And they both actually kind of finished around the same time.
Wait, so you split the batch. I forgot about that.
Yeah, I'm actually going to bring a surprise blend that I have for you, but I can't tell you.
Okay.
It's not going to be the one that I entered for the Brewcaster thing, but...
Okay. Well, that's cool.
I've had a rye beer before, and I couldn't stand drinking it. And so I blended something into it to make it drinkable so I could kill the cake. So
LSD.
Yeah.
What didn't you like about it?
Not enough LSD.
Yeah.
That rye taste.
It just the malt profile, I don't know. It could have been the brewer, who knows, but it just wasn't a good beer. so I didn't want to waste beer.
Okay.
So I just blended something.
It's the nature of this Brewcaster challenge. You know?
Yeah,
Make a beer you don't like.
We get some beer we don't like it, so we blend it. So, but the just your primary batch here, you did one with the Weizen yeast and you did one with Kolsch yeast.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Weizen the one that I'll enter for to be the style.
Cool.
Like you asked.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it'll be interesting to try it though. The other ones, that's great. Okay.
Yeah.
So
I think you'll get a better impression of the rye malt influence from the Kolsch yeast. You won't have all that funk from the Weizen yeast. So I did that for educational purposes.
Got it. I like it. Okay. And so do you feel that fermentation went pretty well and as you planned?
Yeah, so far no hiccups. It's all gravy.
John's Brew Day and recipe are sounding pretty good.
The stock just went up, I'm thinking.
Yeah. I think we picked the right competitor. Sounds pretty smooth. Okay. Well, let's hear a little bit from Doc then and find out how his brew day went. Any surprises in your recipe, Doc?
Yeah.
Yeah? You want to tell us?
In the recipe? Well, the standard of this beer is going to be kind of like a Dunkelweizen, but with rye.
Okay.
And I don't like Munich malt at all.
Yeah.
So I figured I'm going to switch it around a little and stick within the parameters of 50% rye.
Yep.
And about 23% Pilsner and 23% American 2-row and then about 4% of Carafa 2 to get some color in it.
Okay.
And so basically that's that. And then
so Pilsner's your replacement for Munich.
No, Pilsner would have been in there anyway.
Oh, it would have. I see. Okay.
I just decided to change it around.
Got it. Okay.
And it needed to be just a lot of rye with a lot of diastatic power to other things in there.
Okay.
But bitter with Perlay and finishing with some Hallertau Mittelfru.
Okay.
And then that's basically what. And then I'd use the 3068 with a big ass starter.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay. So one did a starter, one did two packets. So that's interesting to note. We'll see if we can taste any differences there or find out how they finished.
I wanted it to roll fast too, so it was about a 4,000 milliliter starter.
Wow.
And I use it as like a Kreuzen. So I had it going. I didn't let it settle out. I wanted it to be actually a fermenting beer at that point, and then poured the whole thing in there.
Oh, you did. So you didn't do the dump off the top technique.
No,
in this
not
case.
not on this one. I wanted to be kind of like a Kreuzening with it. And
how many gallon batch did you do?
10, 12, about 12.
Wow, so 4,000. Okay, wow.
Actually, I ended up with about 15. About 15.
Okay, you got that.
So yeah,
Did you split that starter though?
No.
That was all for 10 gallons.
I ended up with more because I underestimated my efficiency. So instead of 12 gallons, I ended up with about 16, probably.
Okay.
So,
how about your mash? How did your mash go? What'd you do?
Mash went well. It was a 5-step mash with 2 decoctions.
Ah, the old decoction.
Yeah, 2 I didn't want to do 3, but
but you did 2.
I didn't want to do 3.
Yeah. But the decoctions was one of the smoothest ones I've ever had. I scooped it out. I had a smaller pot that had the clad bottom, which you have to use. I've tried it with the unclad bottom, and the things just burn.
Okay.
No matter how much you stir. And this was textbook. Scoop it out, put it in. That Beersmith came in real handy.
Oh, yeah?
It tells you how much to pull out in quarts. Boil it, put it back in, and it will bring you right to your temperature.
That's cool.
That is cool. In fact, that's what I was going to... I just wanted you to give us a brief decoction description, and I thought you might say, well, you just pull half of it out and put half of it back in, but this actually calculated.
Right, and I punched in what temperatures I wanted.
Okay.
So I started out at 95, doughed in at 95 with rice hulls. Then I recirced it up to about 122, and that's when I pulled off the first decoction at that point. Boiled that while the other was setting. Put it back in. Brought it right up to, I want to mash low, 143.
Okay.
Went right to it.
Wow.
It was real nice. Then I pulled off another one, decocted that, boiled it, put it back in. I overshot a little bit. I wanted to be about 154. I was about 158 or so, maybe 159. And then then at that point I let it set for quite a while, and then up to mash out.
Do you think that the difference between 154 and 158? I mean, what would really happen within that range? Anything? Is that?
No, mostly just beating myself up because I had a number I wanted and I didn't hit it.
But there's not some like major enzymatic activity that would happen at different from.
You're just enzymes peak at a certain temperature.
Okay.
And at too high of a temperature, they work faster, but they also burn out faster. But they do have a peak temperature, so you can be at either side of them. It's just going to work slower.
Okay.
Well, how long were you at 143?
2 hours.
Oh, well, a lot of it's already done by the time you went to that.
And then I wanted to make sure I got anything else cranked up to that, and then mashed that at 165. Cooled it down real fast.
Okay.
Got it in the ferment, and it, like John was saying, it was rocking at about 16 hours after.
Okay.
Gave it a couple shots of oxygen on the way, and boom. It's still in the fermenter right now. Check it when I get home.
Okay.
Whether I want to pull it out of there, I might leave it in there for a couple more days.
Right. Okay.
But it's been a week. I did it a week ago.
Okay. These beers are going to be good. I know they are. They're both going to be good. There's going to be a tough competition.
Right.
We need to get more judges in here for this one, so it's not just like a one-vote... or it'd even be better, actually, if we had more judges and it was still a one-vote competition. But this kind of 3 for one and 2 for the other one. It's not enough judges. I want more judges in here.
We pull some people off the street.
Yeah.
Yeah, Chuck
Curtis?
That's
whatever
his name.
Chuck Curtis, I think.
Yeah, maybe.
Bring him in here. He'll judge.
And we'll judge him.
Well, it sounds like both brew days went pretty damn well. You both have some unique things about your brew day. Doc with his decoction. Please say.
Completely different beers.
Yeah, they probably will be, right?
I mean, the decoction versus the step mash, I mean, the malt profiles, can be completely different. Interesting.
Did you add something to your malt for color? Both of you, to get this kind of dark Roggen beer color?
I used Carafa too, right at the end of the mash.
Please say.
Yeah, I just did Munich and Cara Munich.
Okay.
So I had 3 pounds of Munich and then 1 pound of Cara Munich for color. I mean, it's like an amber color.
Okay. So one's going to be a little darker than the other. Doc's is going to be potentially a little darker than the other one. We might have to put it into glasses that we can't see the color now. Now that we know this color difference from the two malts.
I wasn't too worried about my mash tun geometry either, because it's a 20-gallon mash tun, and I'm only half full, so the geometry's still lower than wide, or wider than lower. So
okay.
Good thinking.
All right.
Plus, if you're stuck with 10 gallons of rye, who wants to drink it?
Yeah.
If you don't like it.
Right. You're just going to bring it to Burning Man anyway.
Well, that's why. Yeah, that's why I only brewed 10 gallons of it, not 20, because it could suck.
Right. All right, well, it's time for us brewcasters to bet on who we think of these two is going to win. That's the little side bet that we've been doing each and every challenge to get an extra point in there. Doc and John.
Fantasy brewing.
What's that?
It's like fantasy brewing.
Yes. It is. Yeah, we should build our own brew team.
Oh, I fermented at 62.
62.
Also. Yeah,
okay.
and then I just brought it up to 67 about 2 days ago.
Okay.
Well, that's cool. Same temp.
Yeah.
Yeast starter versus two packs. That'll be a bizarre.
Yeah.
Cool.
And I just put some calcium chloride in. That's all I added back.
Okay.
And it's RO water, but I wanted it to be rounded, more fuller, and some calcium for the yeast. That's about it.
Okay.
We opened that Rogan beer over there. You should get some of that. It's smoked. It has some smoked malts in it, which is interesting.
Roggen beer?
I'm sorry. No, actually, Rogan beer.
Is that how they spell it on theirs?
Yep.
Rogan beer?
Yep.
Let me see that bottle. Let me see. I want him to be lying right now. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It's Rogan beer. Okay. All right. Let's do some betting. We're going to start with JP over here. Moscow, I assume, is going to take down our bets.
What about the odds?
Yeah, let's do the odds first. Who's favored in this matchup?
I would say Doc is favored in this matchup.
I agree. I think Doc. He just came off of a strong showing at the homebrew competition. Plissés off making fucking wine all the time or something.
And babies.
And babies. I don't know what he's doing. Back in his heyday, his competition heyday, I wouldn't have given Doc the advantage.
Better than even, maybe.
But I think things as they are.
I agree.
There's a slight advantage to Doc.
It's only slight?
Yeah,
it's going to be only slight.
4-3? I don't know what that means. I just made numbers that were close to each other.
So it's
like 8 to 9.
You can do whatever you want. So for reference, Justin was a 3-2 dog. JP was favored in the first matchup, 3-2.
Yeah, and I dominated.
By one vote, you did indeed. The next matchup was Tasty and Nate. Nate was the underdog. It was 6-5.
I see.
That is close.
Is 2-1 like a huge difference?
Yeah, that's a big advantage. That means that Doc's going to win twice as much, right? Would he really win double?
No. So 3-2 then is closer to what JP and I were.
Yeah,
I think they're probably about 3-2 in Doc's favor.
What would be one step above that? 5-4,
5-3.
Well, when you figure that we have 5 votes and 3 went one way and 2 went the other, that's 3-2.
About right. I see. I think that's about right. I think Tasty. What do you think?
I think 3-2 is right on.
But you guys don't know how many people are going to be voting though in the studio at that time.
No, we don't.
No,
but the
this is
odds
separate.
stay the same anyway.
Yeah, the odds of a win, not how the votes will be divvied up.
Yeah, Doc's just putting it in dumb terms for me to understand, which I appreciate.
So you have 4 apples, and one goes to the moon. What's your birthday?
So, anybody else? Moscow, are you thinking different than 3-2, or we're good on that?
Yeah, just like you said, given that Doc's coming off some gold medals, that seems fair to me.
All right, let's go with that. Okay, so that means if you pick the underdog, of course, JP, and he wins, you'll win more points.
Yeah. Can I ask the Brewers a question?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
Just like Bachelorette or something.
Mr. Plissé, when was the last time, previous to this event, that you actually brewed a batch of beer?
That's a good question.
Thank you.
It was about 2 months ago.
Oh.
I picked Jonathan.
Okay. He's in practice to you.
Yep.
You didn't want to ask Doc a question?
No, because I know what Doc does. But John has been, John has been out of my life for quite some time now.
Right.
And I'm unfamiliar with what he's not on Facebook enough for me to stalk him. So
sure.
I just don't know what's going on. So I want to make sure that he knew what a mash paddle was and how to use it. So.
You just wanted to make sure that he didn't have to go blow all the cobwebs off the brewing system.
Right.
Knowing Johnny, that's fine. It's a protein thing. It's fine. So I vote. I'm going dark horse. I'm going Jonathan.
Okay, Moscow.
Thanks, friend.
You're welcome, buddy.
I'm gonna take Doc. I don't know how you bet against a guy who just walked up on stage at NHC a bunch of times and took pictures with medals, and it feels foolish to vote against him. So I'm going Doc.
Okay.
He's dead to me, Moscow.
Thank you, Moscow.
Well, in John's day, he won quite a few medals.
Oh yeah, if I could build a time machine, I'd go back and vote for John.
Yeah.
But
well, most of them were ribbons of the fair.
Free Moscow.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. Nonetheless, he is. He's not. Probably doesn't have his A game. Since he has been able to brew.
Wait, we're brewing Roggen beers. There's no A game here.
Tasty's kicking you while you're down.
I like it.
The thing that's kind of making me push towards Doc is his decoction mash and his pitching an active starter. That to me, that's a big advantage. I think I'm going to like his beer, so I'm going to have to go with Doc.
Okay. I like your analysis of the starter and including that in your vote. I think that's a smart move. All right, Bevo, what do you think?
I vote Doc.
Going Doc. Okay. Wow.
The pressure's on.
And I haven't been wrong once.
Oh.
First time for everything.
No, man. They had like the Sixth Sense shit.
Oh, maybe I should go with Bevo's vote then.
I'm going to be the only one. I'm going to be the only one voting Plissé in 2013.
Well, I'll be honest. That's the only thing that makes me want to vote Plissé because you're going to get the most points if John wins.
And I need the points.
Smart.
Yeah.
There's
I guess.
the gambler, Justin. There you are.
Yeah. So I'm just thinking thinking numbers here. I was thinking gambling.
Either way. John, I think you're going to lose.
Yeah.
But you never know. It's hard because it's an unknown style. Neither of them has ever brewed it before, which was kind of the point. So you can, at some point, you have to throw experience out the window.
But that's only true up to a point.
Well, yeah.
Doc had, for one, the technique that Doc did is something he's familiar with, and the last beer he did that I tried with the decoction mash was one of the best beers he's ever made. So just the fact that the technique that he chose is in his wheelhouse that's given him some advantage there. I am also agreeing with Tasty's assessment of the starter. Now, I know that John did the 2 packets, and I think that's a decent alternative. But we've always promoted and talked about the sheer awesomeness of a good yeast starter.
Does it make you uncomfortable, John, that it's taking him this long?
Are the odds changing?
I'll tell you what, though. This is to kind of influence the last straw, the last call.
Yep.
The thing about why I chose Y yeast over White Labs is because of the activity, because of the flat pack. So I knew I didn't have a yeast starter, but I did choose the flat pack because I knew I would have activity and fermentation going.
Okay.
And I think the trick to a smack pack is how you handle it the day before and the day of brew day.
Okay. And how did you handle it?
Well, I would take it out the night before. It'd be in the refrigerator the entire time. I'd let it get the room temperature. It's like 75 in the garage the night before. And then I smacked it in the morning and then let it get active. Now, I wouldn't take it out I've had problems before with the Y smack packs where you take it out the morning of brew day. It's cold. You let it get the room temp. It takes 3 hours, maybe 2 hours. You smack it, and then all of a sudden it's not active until like 5 o'clock that evening, but you're ready to pitch.
It's like a Viagra.
Right.
Exactly. So, anyways, I had a very active smack pack.
Okay.
Bursting from the seams, so.
What's funny? My smack pack,
I think you could. I also went with less activity because I thought I'd have better cell growth with the Y yeast, hef yeast, because.
What did you get a check from Y yeast before you called in?
Right. We're gonna bleep all that out in the archive.
I think to really get that, I think you can control the banana overtones, the spiciness overtones if you ferment cool. We all know that. So I went with the smack packs rather than the starter because I thought I would get those flavor influences, but I could be able to control them. So really healthy cell growth rather than having all in the starter and all those flavors, made there. I had it made in my fermenter.
Right.
What's fermentation?
Still, this is tough on me. Shit.
It's pretty cool to be on the phone right now. I'm in my brewery right now, walking around like sanitizing shit.
You should just throw it away instead of sanitize it. It's gross.
I got to go with Doc. I got to do it. All road. Awesome. It's point me that direction.
You're a smart man.
I want to be on the points side with JP, but I'm just not sure it's going to happen. And even though I was the one who really said John Plissé has got to be the one to go against Doc, he's the guy. Just hearing about your 2 brew days, I'm going with Doc on this one. I got to do it, Johnny. I'm sorry, buddy.
It's all good.
All right. Well, I hope you prove the majority of us wrong, and that you and JP can ride off into the sunset together as winners.
Nah, I don't want to hear JP. He's not a good winner.
I'm a great winner. Are you kidding me? I dominate every time I win. What?
All right. The votes are cast. The beers are brewed. The fermentation is happening. The final tasting of this challenge will be happening Monday, August 19th.
Yep.
That's just under 2 weeks from now. John will bring his beer in. Doc will bring his in. I'll try to get some more judges in here as well, and we'll find out who's the winner of the 3rd Brewcaster Challenge. I wish both of you luck in this endeavor.
Thank you, sir.
Rock.
All right, John. Thanks for calling in,
Doc,
buddy.
when are you kegging?
I'll probably keg Thursday. Get it out of the fermenter. Keg it Thursday. I'll probably rack it once more on Saturday. Carb it up, and then I'll probably bottle just before.
Like day of?
Gotcha.
Well, no, I'll probably bottle Saturday.
Yeah,
and then bring it in on Monday.
Does it have to be in a bottle, or can I bring a little keg?
I I think the bottles for... I just want to do it in a bottle because it's more predictable. I'm not going to get it over foamed. I take a keg somewhere in the car, and it's just...
Yeah.
It's like the redheaded stepchild.
Beat it!
Yeah.
I think you can bring it in any vessel you want.
You can do it anyway. I just want to put it in a bottle because I can control the carbonation a lot better.
Bring it in your mouth. Who cares?
Okay.
You don't care.
Except that.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks,
All right,
guys.
Johnny. Thanks, buddy.
All right, see you.
Cheers. There you go. The big day.
Dun, dun, dun.
Monday, August 19th. Going to be some good fun. We're going to learn a lot from these beers.
Yeah, I'm really excited.
It turns out I think I like Rogan beer. This Rogan beer is good.
I enjoy
also.
it. I like the smoke edition. I'm unsure if that's in the traditional style or not, but the first one we had from Reuben's Brews did not have a kind of smoky thing, and this one does.
And this one's got very little of the banana that the last one had.
Mm-hmm.
So I suspect, Jay, you would like this one even more.
And even with the smoke, there's just a little bit of that, too, because that's something that would turn me off just as much as the banana. But, no, both of these styles have been good so far.
It's not a bad style, yeah.
You know, so now I feel like, Doc, it's gone from like, I don't know, just produce a good beer and we're going to like it, and that's how you win, to now we might end up being some discerning judges of these Rogan beers.
Right. This is not the style.
This is not a true Rogan beer, Doc.
Look at Bevo's horrible face.
Oh, Bevo hates it.
You don't like it, huh?
That's awful.
Which one, Bevo? The Rogue?
That was a
The Rogue.
smoke one.
Oh,
In beer.
You probably hate smoke beers.
I don't like.
I don't like
flavor.
smoked beer.
I like the banana-y flavor.
Yeah.
It tastes like bacon.
I know you do.
Anybody want this?
It doesn't taste. Does it taste like bacon?
Yeah.
No.
Especially when it warms up.
Yeah, mine's pretty cold. They all have that great, just rye spice on the tongue.
Yeah, the mouthfeel is very, very deep in these.
In fact, this gave me instant heartburn.
Well, you took it. You knew that it had smoke in it.
You mean,
I know.
you mean the cabbage and the sausage didn't?
Maybe.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
It's something.
Gerd.
All right, real quick, if you're looking to put your recipe into a great program to help you brew like it helped Doc brew this Rogan beer, go check out Beersmith. Go to beersmith.com right now for the Beersmith brewing software. You get 21-day free trial to check it out, so you don't have to take our word for it. But we've been using it, and it's a fantastic piece of software available in both PC and Mac. It's also available in mobile forms. You can get the iPad or Kindle version. You can get it on your phone. And the ones on the iPad and the Kindle I know are pretty robust. You can adjust your recipes and do the things you need to do while you're on the go. Check out beersmith.com. It's the best brewing software out there, and we love it. Get your free 21-day trial now by checking it out at beersmith.com. All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we got a musical guest in studio with us today. Lucas, Ohio Patty's going to play some tunes for us. We're going to learn about him and his local music. He's got a new album out, too, so hang in there. Good stuff ahead. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Where do you go for all the stuff you need to brew? Homebrewstuff.com, of course. In their Boise, Idaho storefront and warehouse, they have more than 750 craft beers and 8,000 square feet of homebrew products in stock. The staff at Homebrew Stuff are homebrewers themselves. They try out just about everything, including the beer, so they can answer your questions knowledgeably and correctly about brewing, kegging, and anything else you might need to ask. Don't live near the Homebrew Stuff store? Visit homebrewstuff.com online and take advantage of their $7.95 domestic shipping available on most orders. Homebrewstuff.com is a proud sponsor of the AHA, NHC, GABF, and countless other acronyms. So if you're a homebrewer looking for great people, a great selection, and great deals, head to homebrewstuff.com, online or in person. Visit their YouTube channel for loads of free how-to and product videos. All of the stuff you need to brew. Homebrewstuff.com. Do you know the three most important rules in brewing: sanitation, sanitation, and sanitation. And no one does it better than 5-Star Chemicals. 5-Star knows sanitation. You can only sanitize clean equipment. And 5-Star knows how to clean, too. For craft brewers and home brewers, 5-Star has what you need to keep your fermenters, serving tanks, kegs, and draft lines sparkling and free of any beer-spoiling bacteria. PBW, caustic, acid cleaners, Star Sand, SaniClean, lubricants and defoamers, pH stabilizers, and more. 5-Star Chemicals has cleaning supplies, safety supplies, heat exchangers, pumps, hoses, and valves. And 5-Star is proud to offer eco-friendly products that exceed customer expectations. If you have a cleaning problem, you need the 5-Star solution. Visit 5starchemicals.com or call 800-782-7019. 800-782-7019 and get the 5-Star treatment today.
When you hear Blickman Engineering, think innovation, passion, quality, and customer service. Blickman gear is designed by brewers to give you a sense of pride in your equipment. At Blickman, they know what makes brewing a pain and build gear that makes it fun. Like the intuitive beer gun, a completely different approach to filling bottles. The Therminator Wort Chiller, a new take on a plate chiller that's sized for flow, performance, and the high groundwater temps homebrewers face every day. The Brewmometer, a brilliant weldless thermometer design with brewing parameters right on the dial. The Autosparge, ultimate simplicity for preventing an overflow or running your mash tun dry. And much more, like the modular top-tier brewing stand, conical fermenters, and their Boilermaker brew pots. With more cutting-edge equipment coming soon, keep up with the latest from Blickman at blickmanengineering.com and stay on the cutting edge.
When I order a beer, I want my server to know more about it than I do. I want someone who enjoys good beer and loves helping others enjoy it too. I want someone who knows how to pour a perfect pint for any beer style. I want a Cicerone. The Cicerone certification program is creating the type of people who help you enjoy great beer. Home brewers and craft beer lovers know beer is more flavorful and complex than ever, and it takes some serious knowledge to store and serve beer right. Cicerones know beer. There are 3 levels in the Cicerone program: Certified Beer Server, Certified Cicerone, and Master Cicerone. Cicerones are truly the sommeliers of beer. The best beer locations have a certified Cicerone on staff. Relaxed and unpretentious, Cicerones are tested on storing and serving beer, beer styles, flavor and tasting, the brewing process and ingredients, and pairing food with beer. Learn more about your next beer guide at cicerone.org. Certified Cicerone, because it takes top talent to present a perfect pint.
By popular vote from the Northwest Brewing News, HopTech has been voted the best homebrew shop in Northern California. Serving homebrewers for nearly 30 years in Dublin, California, HopTech carries more than 40 different kinds of hops and more than 60 different grains. Malt extract, spices and sugars, hop oils and extracts. Open every day except Wednesday, or shop online anytime at hoptech.com or call 1-800-DRY-HOPS, 1-800-379-4677. With in-store classes almost every Saturday, huge selection and a dedicated commitment to their customers, HopTech is one of the longest-running and passionate homebrew stores, period. And now, by popular vote, the best homebrew shop in Northern California. And don't forget their 15% military discount. HopTech. Visit today at hoptech.com.
Mix me your 100-grain amber recipe, and I'm going to eat it. And then it can ferment in my gut. It totally works. The beer is almost identical to the grain sandwich.
Your colon won't know what hit it.
The home of live beer radio.
TheBrewingNetwork.com.
Because like beer,
radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The
Session.
888-401-BEER.
This is The Session.
Welcome back to the program. Thanks for hanging out with us. If you don't know yet, the best place to buy your adult products is over at adamandeve.com. You can go to adamandeve.com right now and use coupon code BNARMY. That's BNARMY. And what you will get is a free gift that's very sensual. You will get 3 free adult DVDs from all sorts of different genres, like Chunky and
Chunky.
What was the other one?
Big Boobs. BBW.
Oh, Big Boobs. That's a good one. Everyone likes that one.
Do they have a cosplay one? Because I would like that.
I don't know what that is.
Where, like, you dress up, like, all the hot chicks dress up, like, in costumes from anime and like, movies and shit like that.
I would imagine.
Wouldn't that be like
they must.
fantasy or something?
Yeah,
but cosplay is different because it's like role playing, but you're in like a skimpy bikini suit outfit.
I thought that was just called porn.
Yeah, me too.
No,
it's different than like furry play.
It's different than furry, yeah, because furries you don't take your suit off.
You just wear a tail, right?
Yeah.
Well, you can go with just a tail or the whole furry suit.
Right.
Why does anyone need anything more than big boobs? Isn't that enough?
Is there something more?
There really is.
Do you need more than a vagina?
They get old.
Well, it's like eating a hot dog with no ketchup. It's fine. Ketchup adds to it.
I like that your next thought was eating a hot dog. As we're talking about big boobs, you're like, oh, it's like eating a hot dog, like a big fat hot dog.
Hey, Freud. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. All right, let's not get over analytical. It's not.
All sorts of categories. You get 3 free adult DVDs plus free shipping on all that stuff. Go to adamandeve.com and use coupon code BNARMY. And we're not just joking. Why would you go to that local creepy place where the people look at you when you pick up your cosplay DVD and they're like, wow, he just got the anime one. You can just do it online.
Yeah, the best of Sailor Moon cosplay.
Actually, that is kind of one of the categories.
Is that?
It's anime or cartoons.
Perfect.
Oh, brother.
That's great.
Just for
I think it's called hentai.
adamandeve.com.
Thank you for
coupon code BNR.
clarifying.
All right, our next guest is a musical guest. He's a local here to Martinez. He's been in the studio now for a couple of hours, and I will admit he's not your average creepy Martian like the rest of the Martians around here, around our studio. He didn't barge in and start touching things.
When you ask him his name, he gives you the same name every time.
I get the same name every time. He doesn't seem insane in any way, shape, or form. Mr. Lucas Ohio Patty in the studio. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here today.
Are you a home brewer also?
I am.
I thought
in fact.
so.
Yep. I started brewing back in about 2007. My good friend Jay Sprague kind of partnered up, and he taught me the ropes. And we brewed 5 Imperial Oak aged beers.
Nice.
We did a compare contrast. So
those were your first beers?
Yes.
Wow.
With Mr. J and Jay Bird, and he kind of taught me to brew, and it was fun. And then he kind of let me loose and made an American Pale Ale, and entered that into the California Mid-State Fair.
Okay.
And turns out I won the best of show.
Is that right?
Nice.
And Matt Brindleson was on the panel there.
Really?
Yeah.
He liked your beer. He probably stole your
That's
idea.
a hell of a best in show.
That was the Pale Ale. Check the timing on that. He probably stole your recipe.
Was it called Pale 31? Was that the name of your recipe?
Yeah, exactly.
Wait,
Well, it was Pale 30. You just had to change it a little.
Was it called Double Barrel Ale?
Yeah.
And that was your first solo beer?
Yeah.
You won best in show?
Yeah, and gold and best ale for that same very same beer. And then I took silver. I think it was for the oak aged imperial stout.
How do you think you did that? Like, what would you attribute such quick success to?
Cleanliness, sanitation.
Yeah.
That was really all of it.
Did you retire right then? Because I would never have entered a competition.
That's it for me.
Yeah, I'm out.
I was a part of the Slobs, the San Luis Obispo brew crew at the time, and
nice.
And there were some brewers there. Good crowd down there. Good group of people.
Yeah,
and
we know some of those guys.
Yeah, you know some of those guys. Yeah, and they were just like, "What?" They had the same reaction, like, "This is your first brew out," you know?
They were like, "Fuck this kid! Give him his dues back and send him packing." Yeah. Well, congrats, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, with that said, I got to get back into it. I've been focused on music lately, and so it's hard to...
How long have you been playing music?
About 12 years.
Yeah? Did you teach yourself, or did you go to school?
I took lessons for about a year.
Okay.
And wasn't doing my homework, so I felt like it was a waste of money.
Sure.
And so I decided to just drop that and kind of see how I do on my own.
I thought maybe you got fired from your teacher.
Yeah, no.
You weren't doing I've been fired from
a teacher.
It was more like I felt like a disappointment. You know,
right?
Like, oh, you didn't do what we were talking about last week.
On, what,
again.
Again. Yeah, you're supposed to practice this.
A year of that, and you just
Were you smoking a lot of weed?
Huh?
Were you smoking a lot of weed? No. Just playing music.
Just
just chasing the dragon. Really, that's all.
So you got a new album out. It's your third, though.
My third album. Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Really excited about this album.
Slingshot Kid, it's called. It has an ugly white baby on the cover.
So, a baby.
I could have just said a white baby.
That's me.
And you'd... Oh, shit. Well, as you know, if you've ever listened to the program, I consider all white babies ugly.
All babies are ugly.
Excuse me.
Except for Abigail.
She's super
the one
ugly.
Exception.
Well, she's
I believe
she's
that
not all
now.
white.
She's all white.
But the broad in the background is super hot, on the other hand.
That's my mama.
Shit! I'm not doing well in this interview, am I, Lucas?
Come on, you must have figured that was his mom. Unless you cut and paste.
That's not really you.
That
baby's you?
That is me.
Who's holding
it? It doesn't look anything like you.
You are such a douche, Justin.
Look at that.
Think about it this way. He doesn't have to pay any royalties, man.
Take off the headphones. Let me see if you got the same creepy ears as this baby.
It's a baby.
All babies have creepy ears. Well, now this looks like Jesus on the inside.
That's a mirror you're looking in.
Bevo.
This is why we, as your helpers, should have mute buttons for you.
Look at that photo on the inside and tell me that doesn't look like Jesus. Looks like Jesus in a recording studio.
And don't be so singularly secular either.
It's a great photo.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus is a handsome man. Yes, that. What do you think? I'm talking about the broad on the other side?
That's what he pointed to.
Oh.
He's a little too light to have been Jesus. I mean, come on. We all know that. Jesus is dark.
It's just the shadow in the background that makes you think he has Jesus hair.
Oh.
So who's this other lady holding the baby?
That's my grandma. Grandma Mary Jane Patty.
It's a family
I thought that was maybe
album.
the lady that stole you as a child.
Are they listening to the show
The
tonight?
story just keeps getting better. Can we just continue with the elaborate story of how Slingshot Kid came around?
We're just trying to help, Lucas. Our story's better.
I love it.
Is your family listening to the program right now?
My dad is actually. My mama passed away last year.
Oh,
so.
Is this why she's on the inside? A dedication to your mom? That's nice.
Yep. And actually, I recorded the album just the week after she passed away.
Is that right?
Yeah.
That does not sound like an easy thing to do.
It wasn't, and it was a lot of emotion, a lot of heart and soul was poured into this album.
And it's gotten picked up now on KFOG, which is a huge local Bay Area station.
Yes.
This album.
Yes, for the second time. My second album was picked up as well.
Okay.
And the first track, All Good People, which I'll play here for everybody
I would love that.
So this picture of you on the back, you look distrusting.
like this is like you after this interview. You're looking at us like, I don't know about you guys.
Really?
It was kind of I don't know, just capturing the moment. That was taken the week after too. So just how I was feeling.
It's not an angry look. It's just I don't trust you guys.
I saw a thread on the Book of Faces this week that was a list of like 21 really bad album covers.
Yeah.
This is not one of them, Lucas.
Awesome. That was number 22.
Fear not. This is a great cover. There were some really awful. It's hilarious. And they're just random people, posing and doing. Look for it. It's amazing.
Isn't there one with like cats? I think I've seen that.
There's a few. There's a lot. There's mentalfloss.com is a website I go to, and they actually have. I think it's 15 stories behind the 15 worst album covers.
Oh, nice.
It's like the one like Ken, whatever his name is, with the big, weirdly shaped head. The one Joyce, everyone knows the Joyce one. She's like in that red dress with like a bouquet of flowers.
I think so.
That's like her story's in there. It's a whole thing about this guy just went and researched all these people
and how the hell it happened. Well, This one is not one of the worst covers ever. It's a nice cover. It's a great album. Why don't we hear some music from Lucas so that you don't have to hear us disparage his name and his family
You were chubby
any
baby.
longer. In the meantime, you can go to lucasohio.com right now and check it out. There'll be links there to buy the album if you like what you hear. If you're local, you might hear it on KFOG. And there's some upcoming shows you got coming up too, right, Lucas?
Indeed, yeah. I'm playing Pyramid Brewing August 18th from Sunday evening from 6 to 9:30. And KFOG Greg from the morning show actually will be there.
Beautiful.
Kind of slinging the local scene CD10 and kind of putting that out there into the world. And then I'm playing the Blues Brews and Barbecue Festival. Or I think it's not a festival. It's just an event in downtown Napa.
Nice.
And it's free. Free parking, free admission.
barbecue?
There's 3 stages. Highly doubt the free barbecue.
But it is close to our friends over at Downtown Joe's, the brewery in Napa. So when you're done with the concert, you can go get some beers.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
What are you going to play for us?
Well, the first track is actually the first number from my second album. It's called All Good People, and it's the one that got picked up by KFOG for the last local scene CD.
So this is from the last album?
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Do it.
Tweedledee and Tweedledum, these happy feet walk dirty streets. Rock-a-baby, rock-a-chew, I'm heading west to where beggars choose. Country girl, ain't you wild? All good people walk this mile. Neath the streets these hippies roam, and the lunatics make love below. Memories of walking creeks when politics were obsolete. Country girl, ain't you wild? All good people walk this mile. Smoking spirits send them down, these rain clouds are free to frown. Bellies roll and the beer flows, but I'm stuck here in Limbin Town. Face the music, face the fear, funky, friendly, and free to cheer. Tails wag for broken hearts, and the children wonder what it's all about. Country girl, ain't you wild? All good people walk this mile. Country girl, it's been a while. All good people make it worth their while. Smoking spirits send them down, these rain clouds are free to frown. The bellies roll and the beer flows, but I'm stuck here in Nimbin Town.
Yeah, very nice. That's a great tune, man. I love it.
Thank you.
Good stuff. So that got picked up on KFOG a few years ago for the last album.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
And now the new one's out. Of course, it's called Slingshot Kid. It's Lucas, Ohio, and you can go to lucasohio.com right now and check it out. You'll see all the tour dates, stuff coming up where you can go see them, and of course a link to go buy the album as well. Yeah.
Yep.
We can get all that stuff on there.
All that stuff and more.
And you're playing locally, too. Aren't you playing at a brewery in Walnut Creek soon?
Pyramid.
That's the one you were just talking about with
Playing
Greg.
Pyramid, yep. Sunday, August 18th from 6 to 9:30.
Okay.
And
I used to work there.
Did you?
I did.
Wow.
I was a server there for a while. And you play music on the back patio there? It's a nice place to sit. They have
nice
a great
little beer
the beer garden. Yeah.
And I have another benefit concert coming up. It's actually the same day. here in Martinez. It's an Avon Walk for breast cancer benefit show.
Okay.
And it's going to be at the Beaver Smokehouse here.
Oh, that's right down the street now.
Yep.
It's
Exactly.
new, I think.
I think the Creek Monkey Tap House is going to be, I think they're donating a couple kegs for that. And,
okay.
4 musicians playing. So, anyways, that should be on the website. If not, it'll be up there pretty soon here.
And you've opened for some great people, too. Didn't you open for Jackie Green?
Jackie Green.
That's
yep.
kind of badass, man.
Jackie Green was a really good guy, too.
Yeah?
Yeah, really cool.
Good musician.
Great musician. Charlie Musselwhite.
Wow.
Just a ripping harmonica player, and also a fantastic individual.
He's playing with Ben Harper these days, isn't he?
Yeah. I haven't picked up that record yet.
It's a great one.
But yeah. I'm excited about that. Yeah.
Good for you, man.
And I just played. Really excited with my first show at the Great American Music Hall.
Oh, that's a good venue.
So beautiful venue.
Yeah.
Felt well taken care of there. Opened up for this band called Poco.
Okay.
So
do you play with a full band when you do these things, or is it
depends
mostly
on the venue?
you? Okay.
Yeah. Blues, Brews, and Barbecue. That'll be full band. So highly recommend people coming out for that.
Yeah, I'd like to see that.
Especially if you like the CD. The CD's definitely got the full band. Plus, we just went all out, brought in. We had fun with it.
Okay.
Which is what I like to do when I record an album. Bring in the organ if that's what you want to hear, to add some some texture to it.
Okay.
I can talk about music like you talk about beer all day long,
That's all right. I would too, except that our listeners are like, all right, back to the beer after a little while.
I know.
I got to start the music network next or something.
Yeah.
But there's too much competition. Who the fuck wants to hear me geek out about music all day long? So.
Or beer.
All right. Good call. Let's do this. Let me take a quick break. When we come back, we'll hear more from Lucas, Ohio Patty. Plus, we got to do a little bit of feedback, and I'll play some tracks off the new album. So hang in there. It's The Session. We'll be right back.
You're listening to the Brewcasters. The Brewcasters on the Brewing Network.
Williams Brewing is your online resource for prompt delivery of quality home brewing supplies. Since 1979, Williams Brewing has offered the finest equipment and freshest ingredients, and the best customer service in the business. Cut hours off your brewing sessions by using one of their 11 varieties of famous Williams malt extract. Their new Snap-Lock stainless steel cam-lock fittings will make connecting your pump or heat exchanger quick and easy. Or check out their exclusive paintball tank-based draft beer equipment. They even have their own line of precision hydrometers. Go to williamsbrewing.com to browse their vast selection. That's williamsbrewing.com. Orders placed by 4 p.m. Pacific Time weekdays ship the same day. Brewing is easy. The Williams way. Did you know the Brewing Network's very own Code Writing Fool's son, Ryan Wolf, has opened a beer mecca in Missouri? The Wolfbrow House of Beer has hundreds of beers from all over the world and is conveniently close to I-70 in St. Peters. Free tastings Saturdays 4 to 6 p.m. featuring special guests from local breweries. The best build-your-own six-pack around with every style represented. And kegged craft beer available for your kegerator too. There's always something new at the Wolfbrow House of Beer. New and hard-to-find beer every week. No two visits are the same, just like passing out at the Rat Pad.
Hi, this is Ryan from Wolfbrow House of Beer. Mention the Brewing Network when you stop in for some cool free stuff. Mention JP for a swift kick in the ass.
The Wolfbrow House of Beer. Beer with personal service from a member of the BN Army.
This is Code. Visit my son's shop or I'll yank the BN website down.
www.wolfbrow.com. Here's a bite for beer lovers. Soft caramel made with real craft brew and coated in chocolate. And hop drops, hard candies made with real hop oil. Introducing Beer Candy from beercandy.com. Beer Candy's amazing caramels come in 4 mouth-watering flavors. IPA, bitter gold, wrapped in smooth white chocolate. Lager, made with a familiar beer from Boston and coated in milk chocolate. Lambic, soury Belgian goodness full of fresh raspberry and dipped in dark chocolate. And
stout, roasty cocoa chocolate insanity. Hop Drops are made with Fuggles or Cascade hops and are known as the candy that bites you back. Choose from sampler and full sizes of both and make your mouth jump to life. All at beercandy.com. Hop Drops and beer caramels. Satisfy your sweet tooth as only a beer lover could with Beer Candy. Visit beercandy.com today.
What'd you get? More brewing ingredients? Yep. You know what I love about Brewmaster's Warehouse? The $6.99 shipping. Well, yeah, but the in-store classes for beginning brewers. Yeah, that's cool, but the Brew Builder. Creating and saving your recipes online is awesome. No, yes, but the cheese-making supplies. No. Oh, the wine-making supplies. Oh, the distilling equipment and liquor flavorings. All that stuff is awesome, yes, but what I really love is that the guy who runs it is totally hot. And that Brew Builder software is awesome.
Oh, yeah. Brewmaster's Warehouse brings you flat rate shipping on great equipment and ingredients to make beer, wine, cheese, and spirits at brewmasterswarehouse.com. And if you're in Georgia, stop by Brewmaster's Warehouse Monday through Saturday from 10 to 6. Visit brewmasterswarehouse.com today because it's totally hot. Oh, yeah.
Hey, Wooly, I'm beat. Can we find a nice tree to just hang out in for a while?
You're beat. I've been swinging through this forest for 50 years, ever since we first escaped from the circus. I know, but there's got to be more to life than exploring this creek and trying to populate the valley by copulating with loose, hairy girls. Marquis, stop. Look! What is that? It looks like a man-made treehouse. With fresh food and craft beer.
Welcome to the Creek Monkey Tap House, boys. Grab a seat. Creek Monkeys drink free.
Awesome! The Creek Monkey Tap House in Martinez, California takes their mission of fresh food and beer seriously. They only serve locally raised beef and chicken, as well as local sustainable produce. It's better for you and the planet, and it just tastes better. The beer and wine at Creek Monkey Tap House are chosen with the same care for the highest quality and rotate frequently to make each visit an adventure. Swing on into the Creek Monkey Tap House and enjoy a new legend of amazing food, beer, and wine. The Creek Monkey Tap House, online at creekmonkey.com.
Wait till you can pour it out of your own kegerator.
Yeah. I mean, your friends will look at you with awe.
And it's just hot.
It is?
It's so super hot.
The home of live beer radio.
Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck. You're listening to The Session. You're listening to the Brewing Network. Because like beer, radio shouldn't suck.
Welcome back to the program. Thank you for sticking with us. We're talking with Lucas, Ohio Patty right now. You can go to, lucasohio.com right now and check out the new album, which we're about to hear some tracks from. We just heard a track from his last album, but Slingshot Kid is the new one. I'm going to play you the first track, which is getting some airplay here a little later in the program, and Lucas is also going to play us a tune. I got to do our feedback real quick, if that's cool by you. Lucas just busted out one of those harmonicas that you wear on the neck, which to me makes him a badass right off the bat. I love that stuff.
Hey, before we start feedback, take Please on line 1. He had some props for our musical friend here.
All right. Johnny P., what's happening, buddy?
Hey, I just want to give Lucas, Ohio a nice job. Well done on the air. Great song.
It sounds good, right?
Thank you.
Yeah, I was listening to him, and then I went to his website, and then I looked him up on my iPhone and went to cdbaby.com and listened to his tracks, and I just downloaded some tracks.
Look at John being like the plug machine.
Appreciate the support.
On my iPhone and then through my internet, which is Comcast.
Well, Johnny P. is a fantastic musician himself. He's a really good drummer. I used to play in bands with the guy, and so this is a nice compliment coming from John Lucas.
Nice. He can also fart well. He's a good farter. So.
Thanks, Johnny.
Thank you. Nice job, Lucas.
Later, brother.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let me do some feedback, because I got to get to that very quickly. Feedback is brought to you today by homebrewstuff.com. Our good friends over at homebrewstuff.com, sponsors of ours and sponsors of yours. They are good people. Check them out over at homebrewstuff.com. They're bringing you this feedback.
Oh my God!
You've got mail.
Kick ass.
All right, some interesting stuff in the feedback this week. Dave writes in, "Hey, asshats, I just got a chance to listen to the Brendan Moylan show, and Moscow's News had some beer production numbers. And there was a discussion about Vermont's lower beer production numbers since 2010. What people don't realize is that Vermont has been seriously damaged by the hurricanes that have gone through in the Northeast in the last few years. The breweries and infrastructure have been damaged, and the people have had to rebuild much of the state. So with a 2% drop in production that's talked about, that's still pretty awesome feat considering the circumstances. Thanks for the great show from Dave." All right, Dave, thanks. Good information. And you're right, we will take that into consideration next time we start insulting the state of Vermont. Which I don't think we did anyway, but
no. We were just
I'm putting that out there preemptively because usually we do. So I just thought, there's a blanket apology.
Well, you just forget who you...
If you don't accept it, fuck you.
Yeah. Scotty B. Brewing writes in, "Dear Session, that was a fast-paced, full-of-action show with Brendan Moylan and his wife. Such a fun show. I just wanted to let you folks know how much I enjoy what you do, especially JP with his comical remarks, like his Billy Ocean parody, Foreskin Lover. JP has me practically peeing my panties. Yours truly, Scotty B. Brewing."
Well, I don't know what to say to that other than thank you very much.
I believe that he wears panties.
Matthew writes in, "I'm brewing a cream ale using White Lab's cream ale blend. When I racked to secondary, I took a small sample, and it had a slight sulfur taste. I'm wondering, will this sulfur taste go away as the beer clears?" Any cream ale experience, guys?
Yeah, it will. Treat it like any lager. Get it cold, keep it cold for a while, and it'll off gas. It'll be fine.
Is it a common cream ale yeast thing?
It can be with certain beer styles. It's usually a yeast-driven thing, but it usually goes away. Don't freak out about it too much.
Okay. That was from Matthew. Let's see. Dan writes in, "I want to say thanks for entertaining me through a tedious couple of days of installing communications equipment in our Tactical Operations Center in Afghanistan."
Tactical. The word tactical is a boner generator for me.
Love the Brewcaster Challenge episode with Tasty and Nate. I couldn't stop laughing. Excellent. Can't wait for the next one. Thanks for the last. From Dan. Is this where I tell JP to suck it? Yes.
You have to ask.
Dan, that would be where you do it.
That's too late, though, bro.
I'm concerned that he was installing our Tactical Operations Center in Afghanistan while listening to us idiots. I don't feel like he should be listening to like classical music, like something to help generate brain cells, not destroy them. Yeah. I don't know if that's the right thing to be doing.
Oh, it is
for our troops.
War always goes better with Mozart.
Yeah.
Well, we are grateful for your service, even if we can't be of mental use.
Yes, thank you. By the way, in Nashville, I went down. It's Music City, USA. If you didn't know, have you ever played there, Lucas?
Yep, I have.
The place is amazing.
It's awesome
for music. It was great.
Planning on going back again. Actually, Glenn Rosenstein mixed and kind of mastered the first track off the record.
Okay.
I think Franklin, Tennessee.
Nice.
Is it a Jewish music producer?
What's that?
It's a Jewish music producer.
I guess so.
I looked right at Scott.
That's all that Scott picked up on.
Blah, 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 blah.
Rosenstein. Hey, that's one of mine.
I wouldn't even notice, but Bevo shot me a look of steel.
I was just like, hey, do you know him?
Right.
Of course he
You're all
does.
related, aren't you?
Yeah.
They all know.
He went to your bar mitzvah, right?
Hey,
They see each other at the meeting.
he's in. Yeah, he's.
He bought you a money bond.
He was one of the guys helping lift the chair up and down at the bar mitzvah.
In 30 years, it'll be worth $1,000.
Well, all I wanted to point out about the music scene in Nashville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
It's run by the Jews. Next question.
Is that while you're on stage, either yourself or having somebody mention that you are a veteran or in the military really fills up your tip jar. I was at a honky-tonk bar, as there are many,
right?
And the band really wasn't very good. You know, they were doing their thing, and you gotta like that. They fucking talk too much. They should have been doing a radio show.
Right.
But then at one point, like the bartender, somebody gets up and mentions that the singer is a vet. And, the dollars are just pouring in. Their cuppeth runneth over. As soon as they mentioned the years. And then the American flags came out. And the next song he sang was all about America.
Love it.
And
I would have put in $10.
Boy made some dough being a vet. So I don't know if you...
So one more thing to add, Nubs.
Well, if you're not a vet, just find somebody in your lineage that is, and just mention, my great-great-grandfather fought for this country, and you don't even have to finish the sentence. Because what happens as soon as you say fought for this country, the whole place goes insane. And then your tip, so that's just a tip.
As they should. Yeah. They should tip for that.
They did. They tipped well. I'm not knocking it. I'm just pointing it out. I've never seen it happen like that before. And it works. Okay. This one is probably the one of my favorite pieces of feedback ever. I read through it earlier, and I love these ones. Steve from Sydney writes in, greetings, guys. Used as a gender nonspecific term. Long-time listener, first-time emailer. I live in Sydney, Australia, and listen to your show during the week as I drive across the... I think what he meant, he sort of cuts off there, but I think he drives across some big bridge.
The main bridge in Sydney, he says, it looks like a coat hanger.
Okay. Oh, it's actually known as the coat hanger.
Well, there you go.
There you go. Shown during this week as I drive across the coat hanger. I was laughing so hard at the whole facials and Jessica's comment about it burning, etc. during the Moylan show, which was a very funny moment when Brendan's wife jumped in and started talking about facials. That I actually had a little weave across the lane in the car. On this bridge, there is a no-no boundary between the two directions of traffic. It's just a thick white line. So my little weave, followed by a correction, was seen by the traffic cameras, and I was stopped over at the other side of the bridge by the cops and breath tested. Oh. Now, I had a 0 blood alcohol limit, but I had to explain why I had driven erratically. And my answer was to blame you guys. Rewind the podcast and let them listen to the funny shit that was going on. I still got a ticket for being a retarded driver. But I did win over one of the two cops, and you all got another listener. Officer X turns out to be a homebrewer also. So keep on keeping on the excellent quality asshattery from Steve in Sydney. There we go. I got another cop listening.
This is so good because I've heard so many calls to talk radio over the years of people saying, I almost crashed my car laughing so hard. And I always wondered, is there somebody who actually did crash the car? This is close.
It's very close.
At least he got pulled over.
Yeah.
Well, and we got one not too long ago about the guy who got pulled over, and the cop comes up to his window and just goes, and he had a BN Army sticker on the back of his car. The cop comes up to the window and goes, you listen to them asshats in Martinez, too?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. Straight out of Martinez.
So I love it when the cops get involved.
Share a jar of moonshine, boy.
That's right. All right, don't forget, feedback's been brought to you today by homebrewstuff.com. Go check them out. All right. That's it for feedback this week.
Yeah, it was real short.
Yeah, good amount of stuff there. So can we get some more live music out of you, Lucas?
Sure.
What are you going to play for us now?
I'm going to play a new track, a track from the new record. It's called Johnny Blazes.
Okay. I love it. And I'm going to play you guys a track after that in a little bit. I'm going to play the one that's getting...
Always See You Wide Awake.
Yeah.
This is the one getting all the airplay. Mama.
Is it?
Yep.
Tasty's going to cry like a baby. You realize that, right?
He already is.
It happens all the time. Yeah.
Tasty met... Actually, I met Mama. I met Tasty and Mama. I met Tasty at the Handles.
Oh, yeah.
In Pleasanton.
Yep.
And I was with my mom, my dad.
Okay.
And my
girlfriend.
he's
met your mom before?
Yes.
Yeah, she's cool.
Did he try to proposition her?
More or less.
Well,
I think I gave her a tasty patch or something.
Yeah, there you go. He's going to cry like a little girl. I know he's going to. And then he's going to make me cry like a little... We're all going to be little girls in here in a few minutes. All right, but first we're going to listen to Johnny Blazes. This is Lucas Ohio from his new album Slingshot Kid. You can go to lucasohio.com and check it out right now.
amazing graces may bring you higher. Prison took you under the sun, where you'll move on, even if numb. Think of angels, better places. Think of angels, painful graces. November, footprints in mud. She followed fireflies on down Pewter Road. She never looked back, never should. She meant to ride us in the middle of June. Think of angels, better places. Think of angels, painful graces. It's a sweet ride, take the time, especially if it makes you smile. It's a sweet life, build a fire, think of the Northwest, good friends, think of angels, better places. Think of angels, painful graces.
Beautiful. It's another good one.
Thank you.
Oh, you're going to have to play one of our festivals, I think. This is good stuff. I got to wait and hear the full band.
I would love that.
But you got Winterfest written all over you, man. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
that's
really appreciate that.
He must have passed out early.
Well, I'll tell you, if you like what you heard here, my band rocks.
Yeah.
They're really, really good.
I'm going to have to go check that out because I kind of want
full-time musicians.
They're
That's
real
what
good
they
musicians,
do.
yeah.
Okay.
They live and breathe it.
Yeah, I might need the full band experience.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, well, Blues, Brews, and Barbecue.
Yep.
Is the next opportunity for that.
When is that one again?
Saturday, August 24th, and it's from 12
I see that
to 4:30 or somewhere around there. But we're on from 12 to 1. No.
You're on from 1 to 2:15.
Yeah.
I'm looking at it right here. You can
and
go
we're
to
on the K-Fog stage. So,
okay, beautiful.
Yeah, 1 to 2:15 K-Fog stage, downtown Napa.
Go to lucasohio.com right now. You can get all this information and find out the other.
Sorry to interrupt.
That's all right.
No, sorry to interrupt. But that CD's available, I think, now officially on Amazon, CD Baby, and iTunes.
Oh, beautiful.
So whichever is your preference.
Click Amazon link on our homepage, and we all get paid. Click on Amazon link, then go look for Lucas Ohio, and he'll get paid, and we'll get paid, and everybody gets paid. Well, everybody but you, Tasty. You just bring in the talent.
I see.
Yeah.
I get a booking fee, don't I?
We'll give you a book. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's right. 10% of what he didn't get.
Yes. Exactly. All right. So I'm going to play a little bit off of the new album, I think, to end the show is what I'm going to do, if that's all right with you.
Yeah. First, let me just say what an honor it's been to be here today with everybody. So I just have some real good, fond memories. Soaked up a lot of information back in the day.
Nice.
Listening before brewing.
Well, thanks for listening, man.
It's cool to be here.
The honor is ours. You're playing some great music. So I wish you continued success and, a little more radio play, and who the hell knows. Plus, you're already getting some good gigs, man. I think you're on your way. I want to jinx you, and I'm knock on wood.
Yeah, you're well on your way to Winter Brews Festival.
I would be honored to play that.
See, Scott, he'd be honored.
So I think we're about done here. We got to do Twitter game.
Yep.
Got to wrap up the Twitter game. Then we'll do JP's announcements. I'll play JP's song till the end, but then I'm not gonna. Don't turn off the podcast then, because I'm then gonna play "Always See You" Wide Awake from Lucas, Ohio after JP's done. What was our Twitter game today?
Yeah, Lucas didn't hear it.
Our Twitter game was, if Moscow had painted Tasty nude on velvet canvas, what would you trade it for?
Or trade for it?
Trade for it, yeah.
What would you trade it for? Nothing.
In the world.
What would you trade for it? Okay, the winner of our Twitter game today is going to receive a Lucas, Ohio Slingshot Kid CD. Lucas is going to send it out to you himself. We'll make him sign it, too.
Yeah.
And so the winner of our Twitter game will do that.
Cool.
What do we have? Who are our finalists? Yes, Beef.
I have Jay, Lucas's brewing buddy from New York, online one.
Yeah? Oh, does he want to tell us bad stories about Jay?
Let's take that call.
I hope so.
He's going to correct us on all the words, I think.
Yeah.
Actually, I do have a correction on one of those.
The silver on the, and now it comes out.
Okay, I was just thinking about
it. Jay, is Lucas full of shit about his homebrew awards?
Hey, little does he know that everything I learned is from you guys, so he owes you guys for those medals, actually.
Well, he gave us a CD, and that's enough payment for us, I think. That'll be fine.
Absolutely. Hey, I just wanted to say, Lucas, sounding great, buddy. The new record's awesome. It's getting heavy rotation in the winery I'm managing right now, and
nice.
It's awesome. All three records are really good if you guys get a chance to listen to them.
We will check out the other ones. This is going to get some play on the Brewing Network here even after he's gone, so it's good stuff.
I hope so, man. I hope so. I'll be listening every week as usual, and I hope to hear it for sure. But, yeah, nice job, Lucas. And
Thanks,
you guys rock as well. Tasty, JP, Doc, Justin.
Thanks, brother.
Great to see you, man. You guys are awesome.
Thank you. Thanks for the call. Cheers, man.
Hey, cheers, guys. Good night.
Later, Jay.
All right. Who are our finalists for the Twitter game?
Finalists for Twitter game, Highland Homebrewer would trade both of his eyeballs.
Wow.
You'd have to after that.
Wait, isn't he the guy who's blind?
You'd wish you were blind.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe.
Don't we ever...
Wait a minute.
Because that's not very much.
Eyeballs are a reoccurring theme in this one. Creepy old brewer would trade his virginity.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still has it, huh?
Pretty creepy.
Who would he trade it to?
I don't know. Probably Scott, I would guess.
Why would it have to be? Oh,
but Tasty might be a better lover. We don't know.
Right.
He could tell us.
Carry on.
Okay. Sugar Valley Brewer says a big oil painting of Bevo's ass.
I think he's found his niche.
Does he mean?
He's trying to find his niche.
Does he just mean that it's a big painting?
Yeah, large canvas.
Or a
large
painting
size.
of
No, he
her
means
oily...
I have a big ass.
But it's
both?
A painting of her oily ass.
No.
Oh. God, I hope your ass isn't oily.
It's not.
Well,
well, she's sitting down in the pants.
Well, what if it's being prepped for a photo shoot?
Well, that is okay. Sure.
I'm really glad we're still talking about this.
Okay, carry on.
It's a big topic.
We can take a hit.
It's a huge topic.
Oh.
Git says he would trade a hop grenade yarmulke. I said, hello? Is this on?
Yeah.
Is this on?
Cricket.
Wayne Perry writes, my eyes after I bleach them.
Bleach.
So you could get bleached eyeballs.
Yeah.
Mark Adkins writes, my homebrew. Both are hideous to look at and show a complete lack of talent.
Oh.
And then Nathan Levengood writes, a medium paste handy with these soft hands.
Medium paste.
Yeah.
It's not going to work for me.
Medium.
I need it to be rigorous.
Yeah.
Slow and sensual.
So that's it. That's all we got.
I'm a little disappointed.
So am
I have to be honest.
Yeah, so am I.
I mean, they're okay.
Maybe it's my filter, but
they just don't.
you know.
Nothing there seemed like a fair trade.
Yeah, that's exactly.
Well, guys,
I mean, it's on velvet. God damn it!
Two guys' eyeballs.
Exactly. It's on velvet. Moscow. We're not just talking about some water-based bullshit here.
Yeah, but eyeballs. I mean, that's a big sense. Your vision.
I got to give it to the homebrew guy, I think.
Mark Adkins,
No.
my homebrew, both are hideous looking and show a complete lack of talent.
At least
I laughed at that one the most.
it's a fair trade.
Both
I guess.
meaning what?
Is he saying his body is a lack of talent or Scott's painting skills?
I think Scott's painting.
Well, that's not nice.
Yeah,
Scott's a good painter.
But he said both.
Not that you're ugly, Tasty.
No, his homebrew.
His homebrew and your painting.
He's insulted himself as he insulted you, which makes it okay.
Or was he insulting Tasty?
No, I don't think so. Nobody insults Tasty.
Well, there's no lack of talent with. Like his body is just, just bad.
A wonderland.
That's just bad genes.
I think his body is a wonderland.
This is not going to be a pretty picture.
You're welcome.
Called Bevo Butter tonight because she's on a roll.
That's Tasty's new song, I think. Well, certainly after this.
Put Sugar Valley on it.
Certainly after this painting is made.
I can already see someone coming up with it on Photoshop.
Oh, it needs to be real on real velvet.
Oh, not. No.
Have you ever done a velvet painting before?
Yeah, the paint by numbers stuff.
Meaning, have I painted velvet or have I painted on velvet?
Done a velvet thing.
Whatever.
Painting.
In general.
Tried to render velvet?
How do you do this?
No.
Have you ever painted while wearing velvet?
I see. The answer is yes across the board.
It's all a yes.
Yeah, no, I mean, well, you would render velvet on canvas, or you would use velvet as a canvas.
Yes.
Do you see what I'm saying? What are you asking? I guess
have you
it's
ever
yes.
used velvet as a canvas?
No, man, no. I would
No, man.
It doesn't grab paint.
No, man.
Hello.
Well, listen, we're trying to open up your
Come
world
on.
here, Moscow.
This could be a big thing.
I'm closed-minded. Can I say?
I mean, those dogs,
which is weird for
playing
a
poker, they pop off that velvet.
Yeah, haven't you seen that? They come to life right off the velvet.
That was painted on velvet.
Yes, the good ones are.
I thought those were blankets.
Jesus Christ!
Wouldn't that be a great throw?
No, I really thought they were blankets.
I know. I'm not saying that you're joking.
Can next week's Twitter game be? If we made a throw of Tasty naked on a recliner, what would you trade? It's just it can just go on and on.
Where would you display it in your house?
Well, I think the better question
would you lay on it?
I think the better question is what famous throw blankets are actually paintings. And Bevo could go. The Mona Lisa is a painting? Fucking shit. My grandma knitted an Afghan, and I thought that's where it came from.
It was crochet.
Yeah.
It was the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen that Grandma knitted.
I hate you guys.
Little Boy Blue is a pot holder. I don't understand. This whole thing is insane to me.
Who's the winner here?
Homebrew guy?
Homebrew guy, sure.
We are all the winner here.
Right?
Because we have
Mark
that ingrained in our mind.
All right, Mark, send an email, jp@thebrewingnetwork.com. You're our winner. He's going to get you over to Lucas, who will get you his new CD, Lucas Ohio Slingshot Kid. And get yourself a free CD.
Why don't you do that?
All right, we're about done here, I think, yeah?
Yeah, I think we're done.
How done are you?
Next week, it is, we might be on Sunday.
Sunday? Really?
What?
No way.
Sunday
session on Sunday?
Yep.
Actually, it's against my religion.
We got a hell of a week coming up because our Brewing Network homebrew competition winner is coming to town Thursday night. He's going to have a brew day at Heretic on Friday, so we're going to get you some content there. I have a surprise adventure for him on Saturday. I don't want to mention it on the air because I want it to be a surprise. He's going to have a hell of a time, though, and we're all going with him. And then he's coming on the show Sunday. Also on the show, we've got Block 15 Brewing Company, and we're going to do some Moodlight mead tasting, too. So
what's his surprise? Is that a medium speed handy?
It's we're going to get him a medium. Well, he's bringing his wife, too. So
ski poles.
So we'll do, yes.
We're getting her a nice manicure so her hand will be extra soft.
Oh, perfect. Ooh. Oh, it's not my hand. What am I
what do you give a shit?
What do I care?
Right.
Well, I think they're going to stay at my house for 1 or 2 of the nights. Maybe I can maybe I can work it.
Oh.
Maybe I can...
well, see, that's what KTG's
I thought
for.
this was my room.
Yeah.
To work it?
Well, to give handies to everybody.
Oh, but I was hoping for a new one.
Well, whatever. I don't know.
Never use your left hand.
Yeah.
Hey, don't force it. Just let it be organic.
Right.
Things can happen.
Yeah. You never know. Here, have another whiskey.
A roofie colada.
Tell her to use her vagina. That's a new one.
That is a new one.
Thank you.
All right. Are you ready, JP, to
I'm
take
ready.
us
Are you
out of
ready?
here? All right. Don't hang up after the end of JP's deal because I'm going to play some more Lucas Ohio.
Right.
Yeah, really. All you do. All the people.
All right.
You guys know what we're going to say.
There you go, JP. Get us out of here, will you? And more from Luke. Wait, Lucas, thanks for being in the studio, man. I appreciate it very much.
Yeah, thanks, man.
It's been real enjoyable.
All right, go ahead.
Well, now I've lost 10 seconds on my
Go for it.
bit. Thank you to our show sponsor, More Beer. You can get absolutely everything you need to make great beer at home by going to morebeer.com. For social commentary that doesn't matter at all, follow Major Jip on Twitter. Scott's on Twitter as well when he's not counting his money by candlelight. Follow him at Moscow Paints. For some good beer insight and homebrew info, follow Nate Smith at Nathan Homebrew and Mike McDowell at Tasty McD. Production director on the session has been Push Eject. Tonight's show has been produced by Scott Moskowitz. JP will be farting all night thanks to sauerkraut. Your call screener and ghetto bird has been Bevo. And your host, as always, is Justin Crossley. Be sure to find the Brewing Network on Facebook and Twitter.
JP's an asshole. Justin's in Moscow and winning the race. JP does great as his charity
just let things go. Live to drink the finest wine. Live to feel love like mine. But don't worry about me, babe. Slow down, breathe, babe. Slow down, breathe. I'm feeling better each day. Still lots to plan, lots to see. I'll never let go. Your blood's my own. I'll always see you wide awake. One day we'll make the great escape. Until then, know us men. We'll hold you close and think of you often. Live to walk slowly, babe. Live to seize another day. Live to ride a horse by sea. Live to tell our story. But don't